Good evening, folks. Welcome back to another Monday night live stream. How's everybody doing? Haven't seen you for a couple of weeks. I hope everybody is having a good time. Hope you've been doing plenty of hobbying. Hope you've been getting the brushes out, getting some paint on them models, and you've been rolling some dice or flipping some cards, depending on your game of choice. So, how is everyone? Hope you're doing well. Let's have a little look on the chat and see what's going on. Super Pumpkin Man in nice and early. Hello to you. Fud, hello as well. Clyde Dasher, nice to see you in as well, mate. Hope you're still around there. We've got Cheese Me in as well. Nice to see you in. Andrew Fairbanks, I did get your message, mate, and yeah, and it has been included. Thank you very much. We have also got, he says, looking down, Coffee and Pistachios. Good evening to you as well. Hope you're well. We've got Type 40 TARDIS in. Good evening, mate. We've got David in. We've got Wayne Haywood. Hello to you too. Ryan Barry. Good evening, mate. He says he decided to put down the snow shovel for a bit and enjoy the stream and the good company. The snow shovel, mate. Oh, dear me. I think we forecast for a bit of snow this week. It looks like it's going to get pretty cold. So, Lord knows what's going to happen. But, yeah, fingers crossed it's not too bad where you are. Or where I am, for that matter. Major Tom, hello, mate. How are you? Nice to see you, Ed. We've got Big David as well. Good evening to you, sir. Yoakum, good evening as well, mate. How's things? Colin Wakeland saying good evening there. Blizzard says only here for a few before going to my wound care appointment. I hope you're healing up very nicely, mate. I know you were saying that you were a bit exhausted after doing a bit of hobby the other day, but at least let's say you're on the mend. Or fingers crossed you're on the mend anyway, mate. Colin Mack says he's here for the legacy. Nice to see you, fella. Jim Zom saying, what's up, Andy? Been a while since I've been able to catch a live stream. Hope all is well. Excuse me, I've just got something on my desk. All's not bad, mate. Thanks for asking. Clyde's in here for the blackjack. We've got Jez Hunt in as well, saying, oi, evening all. Jez and I had a cup of coffee this week, or last week, I should say now. It was nice to meet him in person, so nice to see you in the chat as well, Jez. We got Camo in as well. Good morning to you, sir. Stu's in as well, saying it's been a while, but look forward to the stream tonight. I'm looking forward to the stream tonight as well, mate. I don't mind saying I haven't got anything kind of particularly sort of earth-shattering to talk about, but it's nice just to chat with you lot and chat games and chat painting and just chat rubbish sometimes, isn't it? Type 40 TARDIS says he's still recovering from running around for 20 hours yesterday. That sounds like a long time to be running about, mate. I started doing some exercise again this morning. I've not exercised in quite a long time for many different reasons, but I did some exercise this morning and I'm feeling a bit achy after it. I must admit, my arms and my shoulders, I'm feeling it tonight. Lord knows what it'll be like tomorrow, that's for sure. Ryan says, sorry, we've got Tony Howland as well. Good evening, Tony. How are you, mate? He says, hello, my beautiful people. Ryan says, it's absolutely dumping it in California in the States. Between that and the newborn, this is the closest I've come to hobbying in a couple of weeks. I tell you what, mate, just whatever you can sort of call hobbying, just make you feel better about it. We've got Mark in as well, saying he's jumping in for about an hour before an 8 a.m. meeting. Good morning to you, sir. We've got Blizzards as well, saying that he's healing very well. I've impressed all the nurses. Apparently. I won't ask what you did, mate, to impress them, but yeah, well done. Jess saying, yeah, it was cool. Cheers, dude. You're very welcome, mate. It was nice just to come and hang out, mate. Just come and chat geeky stuff for a bit. Sunderland says, good Narbon. He said he's good evening to everyone. He's working on some Battlefield Rocks from Spellcrow Miniatures. Very nice. Waffles Enjoyer says, Andy about to expose the dark underbelly of the GODTEAR industrial complex. Do you know what? I don't know about the dark underbelly, but I don't mind admitting when I'm wrong about something. And I think if I I'm not saying I've got like a big platform or anything like that, but if you're going to publicly say something about a company or a game or a person or something like that, and your opinion changes, then I think it's only fair that you also kind of sort of tell everyone why your opinions changed as well. Balance the yin and the yang. Cheese Me saying any hobby is good hobby and it's better than no hobby at all. I've not been doing a lot of hobby recently, I must admit. I've been doing a lot of video editing, which has been taking up the bulk of my time. I've obviously had a video come out today as well. If you haven't seen it, I do urge you to check it out because it took me quite a long time to do it. I spent way more time sort of finessing it and editing it and adding in little bits of graphics and stuff like that. but just because I was really enjoying it. So why the hell not? But yes, that was the Fenrir one, a Fenrir Champion expansion for GODTEAR. So if you haven't seen the video, please do check it out. Give it a little watch. It's much appreciated, and a bit of feedback as well always helps. Blizzard is saying he's healing so quickly and sticking to a good regime of diet and medication. That's the way, mate. That's the way. Stick at it, buddy. You'll be back on your feet in no time. Jess is saying he's had to get on the leather work trying to sort of helmet design, and it's the most pain in the arse thing apart from shoes or gloves. I wish I was painting. I can imagine shoes and gloves are a bit fiddly, mate. I can't imagine they're the easiest things to kind of stitch together and stuff. Good evening, Matt. Hope you're well, my friend. And Clyde says, I don't even play GODTEAR, but I like the look of them minis. Do you know what it is, mate? There's a lot of nice minis in the GODTEAR range. They are one-piece plastics, and some people will say, oh, I don't like one piece. I like to build them and all this kind of stuff. But I'm in the middle of painting some at the moment. So on my paint desk here, we have Landslide here, who is kind of like a stone golem type thing. So Landslide is the follower, or a large follower. And then we have Shale, who is the champion as well. And you can see I've put a bit of green on it. It's not, there we go. But I am just starting to kind of just play with it, really. I'm in no rush or anything. I'm just painting it because I like the model, that's all. So yeah, just picking away at it. And Type 40 TARDIS is saying, yeah, I agree. I may pick up some just to paint. Yeah, I think they're lovely models, mate. Really, I really do like them. And for me personally, I quite like the fact I don't have to build them. Jez is saying the GODTEAR video was nicely done. Thank you very much, mate. I'm just trying to kind of put some effort into them and sort of learn a little bit more each time. I did a little bit of After Effects stuff that I've not done before, and kind of teaching myself how to do that. So obviously, I've never done it before, so I'm having to watch kind of like tutorial videos on how to do certain things in After Effects. It's just nice just to kind of just to learn some new stuff and keep it interesting. Not every video is going to be 40, 50, 60,000 views kind of thing. Some of them are going to be less. And I'm kind of making my peace with that, if I'm honest. It used to bother me about like sort of, you know, like if a video didn't do very well or whatever. But I'm making videos. I'm enjoying the process. And I'm just trying to get back to kind of doing the stuff that I love, really. And that's exactly what I'm doing. That's why I made the GODTEAR video. That's why I made the Fenrir one there. And I'll continue to make videos about the stuff that I enjoy. So yeah, all to it, I say. Yeah, David says they're lovely models. The painter present mine are getting more use in RPG than for GODTEAR, but still nice models. Well, we'll be chatting about GODTEAR in a little bit. And Tony says I don't mind one piece, and I'm a painting hobby type. I enjoy building too, but if it's a nice mini, one piece is fine. Yeah, I must admit I'm not a huge fan of building models. I've said this many times. So if they're a nice model and they come pre-built, it's a bonus thing for me, to be honest. Ed saying the problem with GODTEAR is it's so damn expensive for what it is. I wouldn't agree with that, mate. If I'm being perfectly honest, I think like in terms of buying like a champion to kind of as an expansion, I don't think it's a whole lot of money in the grand scheme of things. And there's not that many games where you could kind of sort of spend that money and just have like a new unit to switch in and kind of change things up in a game where you only need 3. Like I wouldn't, and a new one only comes out like 4 times a year, so it's not like a big spend. Like even if you bought everything that come out every year, you're only spending like in the region of, I don't even know how much the champions are now. I can't remember. But when I last looked, like some of them are discounted online and stuff like that for like £25, £30, something like that. So you're only going to be spending like the top's about £120, something like that probably, if you were buying everything that got released like on a yearly basis type thing. It's in the video was good though. Thanks, mate. Camo saying good interview with Parabellum. Took special notice of the amazing pics. Thank you very much, mate. Yeah, I just like obviously the interview ones. A lot of people do interviews and they just have the video up and they just have that one shot of the 2 people sitting chatting. But when we chatted for so long and we're talking about stuff that people might not be aware of when it comes to certain models and things like that, I thought it was worth putting the effort in to kind of like to show off the kind of things that we're talking about. So when we're talking about the different factions, show some of the like the artwork, show some of the miniatures, that kind of stuff. So yeah, it took me a long time to do it, but I must admit I was kind of proud of the finished product. Again, it's not one of those videos that's going to do sort of tens of thousands of views. It's not like the most popular game in the world as compared to like 40k and AOS, but I'm enjoying it, so I spent time on it. Yoakum says, really good video you released today. Would like to see more like that about other warbands for GODTEAR. Have the starter set, but only played the first scenario so far. Yeah, so like it's interesting. Thank you, by the way, Yoakum. The scenarios in the GODTEAR starter set they're all the scenarios that you will play like in tournaments if you play it competitively, and it's surprising how much they change the game up. So you don't need to play through them in order. They are just like different ways to play, if you like. Think of them as missions in like a 40k game where you choose what your mission's going to be. The scenarios are like kind of like your missions. So feel free to kind of pick and choose from them at any one you want. You don't like have to kind of play through them in order or anything like that. Clyde says, One Piece is great, that I don't need to muck about with assembly when I have a painting craving. Yeah, I must admit, like one company I've kind of give a little bit of a hard time to is probably Corvus Belli for their metal miniatures, and it's not Corvus Belli's fault in terms of the fact that it's like they're not doing anything anybody else isn't doing, kind of thing. It's just the metal miniatures. They're absolutely beautiful miniatures, but I get so frustrated building them. They never seem to stick together for me. I've been through this loads of times on streams and stuff. I never seem to be able to stick them together. But yeah, if they were single piece, I think I'd be playing a lot more Infinity, if I'm honest, if they were single piece miniatures. But yeah, I should really give them the benefit of the doubt and go back and revisit it and get my miniatures stuck together and get some games of Code 1 in. Tiny War Games, good evening to you, mate. How you doing? Matt says, if you don't love what you do, sooner or later you end up just not being arsed in doing it. It's a funny one, mate. I've been doing this, since, is it 6 years I've been doing this now, something like that? And it kind of goes in waves, and I've been sitting having this chat with my wife over the last few weeks about it, really, kind of just having a bit of a navel gaze, kind of looking into it and stuff. And when it was just a hobby, the views weren't really that important. It was just something I enjoyed doing as a hobby. And I was just making videos about the stuff that I liked, and every now and again a video would do really well because it was maybe about a more popular game, or something like the airbrush videos did really well, and that was quite nice, and then that pushed the channel along, and with that came more views and more subscribers and all that kind of stuff. But then when I started doing it full time, I still absolutely love miniatures games, and I still absolutely love making YouTube videos. But I think I started focusing on the views too much. So that led me down a path of wanting I'll rephrase that. It led me down a path of not doing the videos I wanted to make because I knew they wouldn't do very well. But I didn't want to make the videos about the more popular games because I didn't play them, and therefore I didn't really have anything to say about them. So you kind of get into this weird spiral of, well, I want to make that because it's what I like doing, but it won't do very well, so I'm wasting my time. I should spend that time doing something else. And before you know it, you're doing nothing, basically. You're just kind of half finishing projects and not really getting anywhere. So yeah, that's kind of where I've had that epiphany type thing, really, is the channel grew through me doing the stuff that I loved, really, and the games that I loved. They might not have always did the best in views, but the channel grew through that. So I'm just going to get back to kind of doing what I love, mate. Waffles Enjoyer says, I don't care much about one piece or 50 pieces, plastic or resin. I just want a cool looking mini. Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, mate, that's what we just want. All want cool looking stuff, don't we? There's some materials I'd prefer that minis didn't come in. I don't like building multi-part like PVC miniatures. They never seem to clean up very nice or anything like that. I'm not a huge fan of metal miniatures just because they just... To be honest, there's not that many metal miniatures these days. The only ones I've really, to be fair, the only ones I've really kind of been frustrated with have been the Infinity ones. And that's just for whatever reason, I can never get them to stick together. I've tried 25 different glues. I even bought an ultrasonic cleaner for cleaning them in case there was some kind of like release mold or something like that on them. I've tried all sorts of stuff. And for whatever reason, I've always struggled with the Infinity miniatures, getting them to stick together. And that, but I think that's kind of sort of, it's clouded my view, shall we say, of metal miniatures. But resin ones, I'm all right with. I don't mind resin. They're a bit brittle at times, and I've had plenty of like broken resin models over the years and stuff where you don't really get that with plastic so much. So yeah, I mean, give me plastic minis or one-piece minis anytime really, but it doesn't mean I rule other stuff out. Fudsies, I think for the cost of where was this one? Oh, I just jumped off my screen there a little bit. For the cost of each, you can choose which appeal to you and learn how they combo with the others they already have. Yeah, the GODTEAR minis. Yeah, I think that's the beauty of it, is because you don't have to buy every release that comes out. You can just buy the ones that you like the look of, either by rule of cool for the miniatures, or by kind of like which ones where the rules might gel with the ones that you already have. I think that there's a bell curve of abilities. There's maybe one or two at the bottom end, as there always is, and there's one or two at the top end. But everything else in the middle kind of arches out where they're relatively balanced. And as new one comes out and they combo up with existing champions, it kind of smooths things out, and it kind of keeps it interesting. Let's have a little look here. Waffle, where was this one? Yeah, SHATTERPOINT Man says, without the ability to customize my minis, I'd get a little bored, but that's just me. Yeah, it's a justified part of the hobby for some people, mate. I'm not really into kit bashing. I'm not into kind of like modifying things or anything like that. But for those that are, I can appreciate one-piece models is going to be a bit of a problem. Evening, Peter Kuhlman. Hope you're doing well, my friend. Cheese Me says, tiny pieces aren't fun. Ask anyone after building those B1 battle droids. I do remember building those battle droids. There's been tiny pieces over the years from lots of different minis. The odd Malifaux mini has a tiny piece. I've built Games Workshop minis with kind of... I always reference the Goliath mini from the original Necrom... Well, I say original, the newer version of Necromunda box, where he had a cigar, which was a separate piece for his mouth. That was I think I did struggle with clipping that off and then pinging it across the room, and I eventually found it. Ed saying it's more expensive than a full Underworld's gang for a third of a gang. It's more expensive than an Underworld's gang. It's a different game, but I do take your point. And for a third of a gang, I know what you mean, because you need 3 to play the thing. Yeah, I get what you mean, but that's like comparing sort of other games to other games. It's cheaper than, let's say, it's cheaper than Malifaux. It's cheaper than Star Wars Legion. Like, so it's kind of, it's not necessarily apples with apples, but in the world of miniature gaming, I wouldn't say it was very expensive. Matt saying £25 isn't too bad for a full set out of the box, playable minis with all their cards and counters. Yeah, I don't see it as overly expensive, mate. Cheese Me saying different scenarios require different strategies, which I really like. They definitely do, mate. Your starting point, the way you score, the way the way the objective hexes appear or disappear or move around. Yeah, it keeps it really interesting. Cheese Me says, super glue hates me too. Not sure why, but I can't get along with it. I've never really had a problem with super glue in general. It's just for some reason, Infinity, whatever metal they make Infinity miniatures out of, I've always seemed to struggle. And I've probably had 5 or 6 different boxes of miniatures from Corvus Belli over the years, where I've bought starter sets for Infinity, which was the Operation Ice Storm ones. I bought, I forget what they were called now, but you know the Operation Ice Storm boxes, they did about 3 or 4 of them. I've bought like 2 or 3 of them over time, and fortunately I've been fortunate that they've sent me stuff as well. So I got the Code 1 starter box, I got the newer Code 1 starter box, and every single time I've had the same problem where no matter what kind of glue I've tried, it's always kind of, it never really seems to go off, and it ends up like drying and just kind of going sort of like a big blob of plastic almost on the. So the only thing I once built some minis by putting bits of tissue paper between the joins, and that seemed to work, but then you have to make sure you trim them all down, and you end up having to fill gaps and things. And I do find it works with activator spray as well. And I know you're supposed to put the glue on one piece, the activator spray on the other, and then put the 2 pieces together. But what I found was that if you didn't get them perfectly lined up, it kind of went off a little bit quick. So what I like to do is to put the glue on, put the 2 pieces together, and then spray it with the activator spray. But But when you're playing with really tiny little pieces, it's really difficult to kind of hold them in place, and then you almost need somebody else to kind of come along and spray it with the activator to set it and let it go off. But yeah, I don't know whether I'm alone in this, but it's certainly not like a problem I've had with one box. It's been the same issue every time I've come to stick them together. And I've tried Gorilla Glue, I've tried kind of Boss Stick, I've tried sort of 3M glue. I've tried so many different kinds of glues. So it's not the glue I'm using that's been the problem as such. Haxon, hello there, says GODTEAR really needs at least 2 warbands per side, but 3 is better, and it isn't that expensive when you consider you're getting a new warband for about £25. I would say that, would I go so far as to say the only way? It's obviously not the only way to play with 3 champions, but I would say playing with 3 champions is so much better than playing with 2, and 2 is better than playing with 1. Where playing with 1 or 2, I think, is a good way to kind of learn the rules and get your head round stuff, so you're not maybe overwhelmed in your first couple of games. But I would say when you get to the 3 champions versus 3 champions point, it's a completely different game. There's so much more stuff on the board. You're reacting to stuff. The way that in the plot phase, you move everything, and then your opponent moves everything. But then when it comes to the clash phase, you move one model, they move one model. And it's kind of like, it's that back and forth. If you're just doing that with 1 champion each, or doing it with 2 champions each, some of that kind of tactics gets lost. The fact that there's a lot more space on the board for people to move around and do things. When you haven't got 3 kind of champions per side, I think it really, really shines at 3 champions. And if you haven't tried it at that level, and maybe you think the game's not particularly very good, I would definitely recommend going back and giving it a second try with the 3 champions if possible, because it's just a different game. Blizzard says the metal minis are what keeps me from getting into Infinity. I can imagine over time, I think Corvus Belli will. They're certainly investing quite heavily into Siocast. I can see at some point in the future, Infinity minis will all go into like Siocast, that kind of like resin plastic type stuff, whatever it is. And it will be a good day when it happens. But yeah, it's there's something quite nice about the weightiness of metal models. Like I used to play War Machine, and I used to play a Malifaux back when both of them were all metal models, before War Machine came in with any of their kind of resins and their plastics and stuff. So they were all kind of metal models back then. Malifaux was all metal in first edition when I was doing it, and they were quite small and fiddly, and I didn't have any problems kind of sticking together. I just don't know what it is about the Infinity stuff. I'd love to know if there's something different. Like, did they use a different kind of release agent? Did they use a different kind of metal? Like, I'd love to know if there's a physical reason, or have I just been exceptionally lucky that everything I've picked up's had this problem. Yeah, Cheese Me's just saying, yeah, they're doing Siocast now as well. Not all of them are metal. There's very few of them are Siocast, but they're certainly sort of going down that route, I think. Hobby is saying the trick is to use a tiny film of PVA glue on one side and super glue on the other. If you want to glue the 2 pieces of metal mini together, it works like a charm. I've never heard of that before, PVA glue and that. I would wonder, does this PVA glue not like put a film over the top of it, or does it react somehow? I've heard even just wetting one side sometimes helps as well. So maybe it's that. Jess is saying I need to build when I'm on a building roll, and then prime and zenithal and repeat. It means when I'm ready to paint, I have loads of minis I can just pick up and paint. It's like a present for future me. I do tend to, if I get like a box set of something, I tend to set aside some time where I just go, right, podcast on, or audio book, or a video or something. I'm just going to build this and get it out the way kind of thing. But like I remember getting like sort of GW box sets, like the kind of Kill Team or the Warcry box sets, and just sitting for a few days, sitting clipping and building models. Like I remember doing the same thing with the Cursed City box. It was just like it's kind of, in saying that, I don't mind the GW mini so much, because I quite like the way, especially with the more single pose stuff, I like the way it just kind of all fits together. But when I was building some of the Mantic stuff for Firefight, where obviously arms and legs and torsos are all separate, and you're having to glue 2 legs on and glue the arm on in a certain way, or you're trying to get 2 arms to kind of line up and hold a weapon, like I did with some of the Kings of War stuff. Absolutely great for people who want to kind of kit bash and try and make their armies look a little bit different. But I think that's generally why it kind of leads me down the route of skirmish games, really, or kind of like low model count games, because I really just I don't like. It's not that I would kind of pay somebody else to do it for me, but I don't get any enjoyment really from building minis generally. Hexancy and Gorilla Glue is my go-to if I need super glue. Yeah, I tend to use Gorilla Glue as well. The Gorilla Gel Glue I've found like has done 99% of all the different things I've had to do with it, and because it's like a gel, you don't have to worry about it running around. You can kind of just put it in the right places. But yeah, for some reason it never seemed to work with those ones. Yeah, VG. Oh, hello, VG, mate. How you doing? It says PVA seems like an odd choice. Seems like it would peel off metal super easy. Yeah, in my head, it would put like a kind of like a film over one side that would peel off. But maybe it's just because it's wet and it kind of activates with it somehow. And she's me saying building can be a bit zen-like. Yeah, not for me, mate, unfortunately. Jez is saying quite like building. Pop them around next time and I'll stick the stuff together. You wouldn't thank me for these ones, mate. Yeah, and VJ said he finds building plastic with plastic glue to be really relaxing. It must be just me then in that case. And Matt said I seem to take way longer than most when it comes to putting plastic minis together. Yeah, I do as well, mate. It seems that I don't know if it's because I don't enjoy it, so I'm really kind of like feeling every minute and every hour that goes past like it's like, oh, I just want this done kind of thing. So maybe there's an element of that, but yeah, I just can't. I can't seem to get it done quickly. But yeah, if I can put something on in the background to kind of distract me, I don't find it relaxing, but I can zone out a little bit. So it's one of the reasons why when it comes to things like the Games Workshop models, when there's only one way to build them, I can't get it wrong. I haven't got to kind of sit and like make a choice of like, oh, well, I need to build an army this way, or I need to give it this many weapons, or I need to give it that many weapons. Generally with the kind of like things like Warcry and Kill Team and that kind of thing, the model builds generally just one way. You sometimes have a couple of choices, but then that's easier than kind of sort of having to decide the kit that your model has. See you, Blizzards. Take care, buddy. Clyde saying, I'm with you on the assembly. I'd rather be doing anything else in the hobby than just putting minis together. Yeah, I think between us all, we're a good team. We'd be a good assembly line, wouldn't we? Some people building and some people spraying and painting and stuff. And then other people just playing the games on the end. Tony said, I spent ages on building minis, but got the whole Japanese tea making ceremony with it and find it relaxing. I think whatever makes you happy is definitely that it can't be a bad thing. Like, I know some people absolutely like love kit bashing, like Pete the Wargamer. I love watching his videos where he's kit bashing certain stuff and he's customizing things. And me and him kind of chat every now and again, just by kind of Twitter message, like private messages. We'll just have a bit of a natter about bits and pieces, and I find him a really, really nice guy. But it just shows that the way he likes the hobby is so far removed, really, from like what I like to do. Maybe we'll do a video together one day where he kind of gives me a kit bash challenge, and I try and do something, because it's definitely not my comfort zone. Where are we up to here? James is saying it's the cleaning of mold lines that drives me most nuts. I can't stand to see them on painted models, so I pour over them. See, I'm not too fussed about that kind of stuff. Generally, I kind of do the big stuff that you kind of is very noticeable, but like it wouldn't, certain models, it wouldn't pain me to see the odd line here and there. Type 40 Tyler says, are we showcasing February's challenge tonight? We are, mate. I will be showing February's challenge. Vijay says, anything else in the background is better than Gecko's Garage. Like, I'm enjoying that. I'm assuming that's a kid's show, is it, mate? I'm not familiar with Gecko's Garage. Matt says, I'm fine with multi-pose kits until I get to the legs. Oh God, the derpiness you can end up with if you're not careful about leg poses. I would not disagree with you there, mate. You can certainly get some kind of like some weird gymnastics or kind of double jointed poses, can't you? Tony says, Pete the Wargamer is brilliant, the plastic anarchist. Yeah, he makes some beautiful models and then paints them very nicely as well. Cheese Me says, I don't mind the multi-pose part. It's that I can never pick which version I want to build. That's an element of it as well, mate, is that kind of analysis paralysis of, I don't know, like, with some kind of games, there's this whole kind of sort of vicious cycle of, I don't enjoy list building, but I need to do the list building to know how to build the models, but I don't really know how to do the list building yet because I haven't necessarily played the game yet, or I'm not knowledgeable enough to put together the most kind of the best way for the army to work, or even sometimes illegal, or like a legal way to play the army. So Kings of War was a prime example, basically, where it's like, I don't really know what like units I'm supposed to be building here. I don't really know, should I be building them in 10s or 20s, 40s or whatever. And I know you can kind of put them together as bases, but I like to do the whole multi-base thing. And so like, you end up in this kind of analysis paralysis vicious cycle. And I think that's why, like, yeah, just give me a big chunky model to just to build like that. Sorry, just a paint that's already done. But I am in the middle at the minute as well of painting up some kill team models. I've got the Groot there on the go. It's on the whoops, I'll get it on. There we go. It's just on there, just getting the first few kind of coats on. And I didn't mind building the group models. One thing I would say is the instructions that come with the Games Workshop stuff makes it super easy. Like the amount of games that don't come with instructions, I'm looking at you, Mantic, it's quite frustrating when you're not sure what you should be building. And I remember building Warlord bolt action miniatures as well, and not really knowing what weapons I was supposed to be giving them, not even knowing what the weapons were on the sprues and things like that. Yeah. Cheese Me says, all barrels have to be drilled into rule. Just as saying, life's too short to drill barrels. Do you know what, mate? I think it depends upon the gun. If it's something like a rifle or something, I would probably not do it. I think the only times I've really bothered is when it's been something like the when it's been like Marines with the big sort of bolters and stuff like that, that have really big barrels on them that like kind of look better if you kind of drill them out, and through the exhaust ports as well. But yeah, I wouldn't say I've bothered on other stuff. Yeah, Cheese Me saying GW instructions are so good. Cheese Me says Mantic has instructions in the ambush sets, which is great. Do you know what? That kind of that frustrates me a little bit more, if I'm being perfectly honest. And that's because a brand new starter, if somebody's deciding they want to try it, they want to get into the game, they pick up one of them ambush sets and they go, oh, this is great, I've got all the bits I need, it's a super cheap little box, there's instructions in there, I think I'll pick up one of those big army sets and grow my army from here. And then they pick up that big army set and it's like, there's no instructions, I don't know what I'm doing. It just shows me that they could put instructions in, but they just choose not to. Even if they put the instructions on the website that you can go onto, the same way War Cradle do with Wild West Exodus and Dystopian Wars. Malifaux does it with instructions online. Who else does it? Somebody else. Parabellum, they do it with their instructions online. Even if they did the instructions so that they were available for those that want them, like I wouldn't complain, but like just not even bothering and openly admitting that they've got no intention of doing it in the past. That I find that bad. A lot of people I've kind of introduced to Mantic games always give me that feedback when they've not, like if they're brand new to wargaming, if they've maybe got some GW models and then they've got some Mantic ones, it's not even the quality of the miniatures that people tend to complain about. It tends to be the lack of instructions. VG says, anyone else seen the new Cromlech Cyber Samurai minis? Pretty cool, I think. If I was going to do anything like Marines in future, I'd do these. I'm not familiar with the Cromlech stuff, mate, if I'm honest. No point in holes in barrels if they've got no eyes. You're right, mate. If I'm not painting eyes, I'm not worried about drilling barrels. There is that as well. Big Dave says, Peter Wargames Iron Warriors was outstanding. Absolutely loved that one. I forget which one it was I watched recently. It was more of one of his recent ones. But I just he's obviously got an eye for that kind of stuff, and I love the way he kind of takes you through it step by step as well. He does a really good job of that. He deservedly, and like sort of, he deserves the views that he gets for his videos. Matt saying sometimes GW instructions can get a little confusing, but that's also some ADHD in play there. I think sometimes like there's a lot on the sheet, isn't there? And it's when it kind of breaks off and gives you two different options. It can sometimes look confusing, as if, have I got two of these in the box, or is there just one and I've got to do options? I do know what you mean, yeah. ER910, good evening to you, matey. Yeah, Jess says I was surprised at the instructions. Yeah, so was I when I heard they were in there. Yeah, you pick up the big box and go, oops. At the same time, the how to play dead zone play mat is perfect. Yeah, it's like the play mat on the back of the normal play mat, which is kind of like a demo play mat type thing, like half the size, if you like, with some instructions and stats around the outside, is fantastic idea. Really, really good. I'd love to see others do that. Like if you go to the effort of doing that, but like not tell people how to build their minis, I just find some of it frustrating. Edsy and AMG have the online instructions. Yeah, they do. I forgot about them, mate. Yeah, all the Marvel Crisis Protocol stuff. I don't know about the Star Wars Legion. I must admit, I've not built any outside of the starter boxes. In fact, yeah, I don't think I've built any outside the starter boxes, and the starter boxes come with the instructions inside. So I'm not sure for the Star Wars Legion stuff whether they're in the boxes or they're online. But certainly the Marvel Crisis Protocol stuff, that's actually, they all come inside the box as well. But I think they're also online as well. Yeah, Edsy and Legion's online now as well. Yeah, okay. Super Pumpkin Man says mini building is just like with Lego instructions or a guidelines and a suggestion. See, that's where I disagree, mate. If you're building your minis to play a game, and your minis are supposed to have certain weapons to field certain units, and that makes it very easy for me to be able to tell, well, this unit is this one because they've got that weapons. They should come with instructions. It's a bit different when you just building minis for the sake of, like, you know, just for building sake, if you like, just for painting. You can build them however you want. I've just realised, actually, I must have turned the music off at some point. Let's put a bit of background music back on there again. James Bray, good evening, mate. How are you doing? Cheese Me says, I want GW style instructions everywhere. I mean, it doesn't need to be like, I mean, theirs are particularly good, but like, no, screw it. It doesn't need to be that good. James is saying the MCP instructions are wrong on quite a few models in the box. I've built loads of them, mate. I must admit, there's nothing that stands out where I remember them being wrong. I mean, I'm not disagreeing that there is, but I've built probably 80% of the models that's available. And I must admit, I don't remember having any major problems. Paul Inman, good evening, mate. This is Metal Minis for the win. It's still a superior medium. I haven't even read the rest of your message, mate, but I already know we have to just agree to disagree there. You can't beat the knowledge that when your opponent is pissing you off, you're just one well-placed throw away from solving the problem. That's what dice are for, mate. That's what dice are for. Greg says, hello, Greg Cherry, by the way. He's been enjoying Blood and Plunder, so I guess I'm old enough to try historical. Trying their World War I Blood and Valor next. Very nice, mate. Frantic says, I want GW instructions and plastic everywhere. Yeah, I want it all, like some kind of, what's the film I'm thinking of? Willy Wonka, Angry Child. Paul says, for metal minis, I use a super glue called, is it Col or Collie 21? A scale model, a friend of mine put me on it. It's fantastic. I've never heard of that, mate. James says, I did Blade the other day and I definitely had an error. I'll build my Blade model, mate. I don't remember it having a problem, but that doesn't mean that it didn't. Nothing sticks in my mind about it anyway. Waffles Enjoyer says, Vince Venturella has a 20+ minute video on why metal minis suck. I tell you what, mate. I mean, unless he's got lots of things to say, 20 minutes seems quite excessive. But yeah, I could definitely tell you why I don't like them in about 30 seconds. Cheese me, when you say it sounds French and then putting the same word equals glue in French, I think. Or col, is it col or collie is glue in French? Ah, well, there you go. Jess says, I wish people came with instructions. Yeah, some people need to come with batteries, mate, or an off switch as well. That would be good. Sam, nice to see you, mate. Aloha, he says, from Maui as well. Nice to see you, buddy. I hope you're doing well. It was nice to see you playing some Warcry the other day as well. So, yeah, awesome. So, let's start. We're going to take a look at some of, or in fact, we'll probably take a look at all of the submissions. Let me just put that over here. Why does it want to do that? I hate it. When you put your little thing 2 foot next to the close to the edge of the screen. It wants to fill the whole screen up. So let's go. Well, anyway, we're going to look at the what they call the February submissions. Sam, thank you very much for the donation there, mate. Very, very kind of you, buddy. I was just looking on the screen there with my old eyes. I definitely need some glasses, I think. Anyway, we're going to take a look at February's submission. And if you remember, the theme for February, was love, because of course it was February. It was Valentine's Day, so the theme was love. So it can be love as a theme in the models. Maybe it's a couple. Maybe it's kind of love as in the theme of I absolutely love these models. I've always wanted to paint them. I love this game, so I'm painting some models for it. Whatever the theme was, then that's exactly what we did. And I'm just gonna go into my emails here, and I can get everybody's emails so that I make sure I know what you all said as well, because there's always some interesting comments. Right, so we'll start with Mr. Andrew Fairbanks, and these are Andrew's models. So he's saying, let's have a little look. The Lady of Vines from Age of Sigmar. I'm assuming that's this model here. Very nice, Andrew. Lady of Vines from Age of Sigmar was supposed to be for January, but didn't get done until the evening after. The Bray Shaman, down here in the middle, and the Pterodon Rider are for this month. However, there's a backstory on how it fits the theme. After my twins were born, I made the comment that her cry sounded an awful lot like a pterodactyl, while he always sounded like a little pet goat. Thus how these two models really represent them. Hope everyone else found a way to show their love for the hobby and your channel. Thank you very much, Andrew. That was very, very nice to hear that story. These are lovely, mate. I really like them. Love the colour choice on here. The green really stands out, and I love the highlights of the green on the vines as well. Lovely stuff, mate. Square base. Square base, mate. There you go. I haven't seen a square base on a Warhammer model for quite some time, but yeah, very nice, mate. And yeah, what was this called again? The Pterodon Rider. I love that the contrast between the blue of the what they call the Seraphon and the red of the wings of this as well, the Pterodon. Very, very nice, mate. Love it. And I love the effects to the wings as well. Very, very nice, mate. Thank you very much for submitting it. I do appreciate you taking the time to submit. So yeah, cheers, buddy. Next up, Mr. Stephen Hallowich. And Stephen has been painting this. Let me zoom in there and get it on the screen. He said, this is my challenge submission. I thought it was rather appropriate for the theme. Definitely, I would say this one sums up love and Valentine's Day the most of everyone's submissions. So thank you very much. He says, he's a new wrestler for Rumble Slam, Jack of all hearts. There we go. I like it, mate. Lovely colour choice there as well with the pink. Looks awesome, buddy. I do like these clear bases for Rumble Slam as well, mate. I must admit, when you've got those really nice, like the rings, the wrestling rings, the mats, I think it's nice to have those clear bases. I've never seen this model before, but I do like it. I love the rose in the hand as well, and the little cherub with the bow and arrow as well. Really nice, buddy. And you've done a cracking job on it, and some nice choices of colours there. So thank you very much, Stephen. Awesome stuff. Next up, we have the man himself, Mr. Jez Hunt. And I was fortunate enough to see these in the flesh the other day, and no sort of disrespect to your photographs, mate, to your photography skills, because they do look good in the pictures, but in the flesh they look absolutely amazing, mate. I was really impressed, especially this one on the right here, and we'll get some close-ups of it so I can kind of show you it. But this looks absolutely beautiful, mate. Some mantic goblins we've got going on here as well. Really, really nice. And he said, let's have a little look. Tenuous link. I bloody love goblins, and I discovered I love multi-basin. There you go, mate. So a unit of goblin sharp sticks and a mincer mob from the new ambush box, plus some bits of scatter. Lovely wee kits. Added goblins to the mincers and some 3D printed mushrooms off eBay. Next is some archers out of the box and some trolls. So next I want to try and see what we can do here. I love these little mushrooms, and they look so cool when I actually saw them up close. I want to try and see if we can get a shot of this one that's a bit more. You can see it here. I just love the shape to this whole base, where we've got like a little goblin here with a door on his back, and these two are kind of like riding upwards and sort of like shouting and bawling on the sides there. I absolutely love it. Looks so good. Colour choice, obviously green for the goblins and have to have a bit of red on it as well. But everything just blends together really nice, mate. Big fan of this. It looks awesome. Those mushrooms really do set it off the toadstools and stuff as well. It's a nice kit, this one, actually, from Matty. I must admit, I don't think I could bring myself to paint a full goblin army with that many minis that you need. However, I would say I think that the goblin army for Kings of War is probably one of the nicest ranges. Like the range right the way across all of the goblin models is probably one of the nicest ones from Kings of War. But yeah, love this, mate. Really, really like it. And then we've got what they call again, the sharp sticks here, with a little rat man on it. Looks on the front here as well, or a rat's head or something like that. Is it, or is it a dog? I can't tell. Lovely, mate. Really nice work. Love the little bit of terrain in there as well. It always looks nice as well when they're all nicely tightly packed in there as well. But yeah, it looks fantastic, mate. Nice bit of work. Nice setting the scene as well with a little bit of background as well. So yeah, thanks very much, mate. I appreciate you taking the time to send that entry in as well. Next up, we have Mr. Who's this one? Rob Green. So Rob, Rob's been painting a ship here. He says, "You are a dangerous man. I much prefer playing to painting, but your painting challenges, which I take full responsibility for accepting, gets in the way but do make the gaming experience so much better." So thank you very much, mate, and thank you for some nice comments as well about some of my videos. So he says these are his 3 loves. The first one here is RMT Olympic. I've always wanted to paint Dazzle Camouflage. It's a small 1200 scale Titanic model with a different paint scheme. My eyes have definitely gone as it looks better than the harsh reality of those images, but the camera never lies, and if I've seen how bad they look, I would have given the Olympic some TLC. It looks fantastic, mate. You've got to remember the size of these things as well. It's not like you're painting it like sort of a 6-foot ship. The zoomed in shots always show all the bits that you didn't see. So yes, so this one, yes, is the RMT Olympic with a Dazzle paint scheme. Very nice, mate. I can never get my head around the concept of what size like a 1200th scale is. This one is, I know this is a robot from Hellboy, the Wild Hunt expansion. It was an experiment with the Vallejo metal color range, and it's lovely to spray paint on over a gloss black primer. It really shines and is my new love for metallics. This was aluminium as I can't get silver anywhere, and was also my first attempt at black lining. It's incredibly shiny, but because it's a game piece, I varnished it, and the gloss varnish has knocked back the shine of the finish. Awesome, mate. Next up, he says we've got some cute and cuddly chibis from Marvel United. There's still another 14 to finish, but I've run out of steam. Just love the game and the minis. Thank you very much, mate. I like these. I've not actually seen these like up close before, but they look really, really cool. I love these. We got some lovely colour choices. I don't know how big they are, mate, but well done the work on the eyes there. I don't have the patience for eyes, I must admit. Look really nice, mate. Love the Professor X one as well. Looks awesome. Hulk looks suitably angry there. Really, really nice finish. Lovely on Red Skull as well. Love the flames as well coming out of here. The Juggernaut one. Beautiful model. I do like those, mind. Really, really nice. Nice stuff, mate. So thank you very much for entering those. Next up, we have Mr. Adam Wisnica. And Adam has been doing a bit of terrain. And he says, for the month of love, I've been doing something that I love, making terrain. This month I made a circle of standing stones and 3 more barrows. Added to my other ones, that makes 6. I've decimated my flock reserves in the process. Well, I'm not surprised, mate. I bet you've used a load of stuff, but really nicely done. I'd love to see these on the table as well. But yeah, nice work, mate. I don't know what you've used. Did you see what you made them from? No, just lots of flock. All your flock has been used up. But that's a really nice piece for the table, mate. And as you say, if you love making them, then why the heck not? Stick with it, and you've done a cracking job, buddy. I love those. And they look great. They would grace any game's table. So yeah, congrats, mate. Thank you again for taking part in the challenge. Next up is our friend Yoakum. And Yoakum says, thank you very much for the kind words about the interview video, mate. And he says, looks like love was my theme, but so a bunch of pictures. Got 5 villains painted from the comic books I loved as a kid. Judge Dredd. I also managed to finish all minis I had left to paint from Mansion of Madness, which we all know is a game inspired by H.P. Lovecraft Cthulhu mythology. I like the way you got love in there, mate. Well done. So that's how I look at these. Nice, mate. Love the white vest on this, mate. You've done a cracking job on it. I'm never very good at painting white, and being able to... The trick, as you've done here, is only ever using white for the highlight. So yeah, you've done a really good job on that, mate. Skin tone's great as well. Judge Death is that, I do believe. And I don't know who the other character is, but yeah, they're really nicely done, mate. Beautiful colour choices on them as well. Bases look nice. Really nice models as well. I'm assuming... These must be the Judge Dredd ones from Warlord. I think if you're still in the chat, mate, let me know. I think they're the Warlord ones. But yeah, nice work, mate. Lovely shading and highlighting on that purple cloth as well. And I'm assuming this is contrast on here, but it works really, really well. I love that. Or speed paint, maybe. Again, a couple of characters I'm not familiar with, but I do love the colour choices. Looks really nice. Nice, grimy, sort of gritty look to them as well. A nice highlight on the red here. Really makes that red pop. Yeah, nice work, but... And again, that white in the vest. Impressed with that, mate. Nice. And I'm assuming there must be there it is, the front shot for that one as well. Nice, mate. Love the little green on the lens. Really makes it pop there. And the highlight on the red. I love painting red. I think red's my favourite colour to paint. Nice. And then these must be the Mansion of Madness models, I believe. Really, yeah, I like these, mate. Could be Scooby-Doo character, this one, I think. Nice, mate. Lovely. Again, you've got a really nice way of painting white, mate. You do a good job of the white there. I'll have to steal some of your tips. Nice there as well. The bases really set these off as well. Nice work on them, mate. And then looks like a lot of angry workers or ready with their pitchforks. Probably on strike the way things are at the moment. Well, yeah, I like those. Looks like some tormented souls going on there as well. I've just noticed the bases with the little the dials and stuff on. I forgot the game had that. Some more of these as well. Love the background picture as well with the guy coming out of the window there. Looks really good. Nice one, mate. It's nice that you obviously got like multiples of the same model type thing, but just the different colour change just really mixes it up. It's not as obvious. And then we've got these bad guys as well. Really nice. Lovely colour choices on them. I love the pinky purple matching with the blue as well. Looks good. And then looks like there's something serious going on here. I think something's getting summoned. We might need to stay out of sight of that one. Purple and gold together as well goes on fantastic. So thank you, Yoakum. That is an awesome submission, mate. Thank you very much. And we'll I think we'll do one more and then we'll come back to them. So this one, Mr. Tony Howell. Tony, he said he managed to get his merchant turned practitioner of the dark arts finished in time. So this is he. I love this, mate. Really, really nice. Again, that purple with the highlighting on here as well really makes it pop. Lovely work on the kind of the creams as well. Really, really nice. I'm not familiar where this model's from, but it's a nice model, mate. And here he is in a bit of a setting. And that setting we'll come on to in a second. I love these little these little kind of flasks here on the side. And the little bag with the coins coming out. I love that, mate. And here's the setting itself. So Tony, if I can find his other email here, because he sent me them as 2 separate emails. Said, send his submission. How does a wizard study tie in? It was definitely a labour of love with a fair few bits scratch built. It looks fantastic, mate. I can imagine somebody moving into this place. It's really, really nice. The furniture really kind of just pulled it all together as well. But yeah, that brickwork on there. My God, to talk about scratch built. Really nice work, mate. Love the little books and the map and stuff there. Yeah, that kind of shows it off. Even like the dirt to the windows, where you kind of get like that mossy effect around them as well. I love that, mate. Really, really nice work. And that chair looks comfortable enough to sit in, definitely. Love these little bottles. Nice, mate. Really love that. So thank you very, very much. Let me just get back to where we are there. Save that, and we'll come back to this for a bit. And we'll see what folks have been saying about them awesome submissions. There seems to be some bits and pieces. Let's have a little look here. Yeah, Tony Sin loves the Mansion the Madness minis. Middle management team meeting. Yoakum says, yeah, it's Warlords Judged Red game. Bought them when I was in Nottingham. Unfortunately, Mean Machine's arm was missing. Oh, awful, mate. That's such a shame. Tony Sin, that model was from Archon Games. Is that one of the kind of the packs with all the different village people? Not the village people like YMCA. Not them village people. Yeah. Let's have a little look. I'm just skim reading some of these now. Yeah. Yeah, Coffee and Pistachio saying, wow, the study is gorgeous. It absolutely is. It was awesome, wasn't it, mate? And Jess says, was that the Necronomicon Ex Mortis? It probably was, mate, to be fair. Waffles enjoy seeing YMCA. Tony says, one's best as unhinged as possible. I tell you what, mate, if you're unhinged, I don't ever want to see you be sane, mate. It keeps them stuff coming. And Stu saying, yeah, all great paint jobs there, everyone. Yeah, we still have a few to go through as well. I just thought we'd break it up a little bit. What we'll do is we'll start chatting about one of the couple of topics that I had on the cards for this evening, which was GODTEAR. And why I was wrong. I'm not going to record this and clip it out. If people want to watch it, they can come back and watch it. Yeah, why I was wrong about GODTEAR. So a few weeks ago, you might remember that I was kind of commenting about GODTEAR when we were talking about dead games. And whilst I said that I absolutely love the game and I'm a big fan of it and I continue to play it, I was a little bit worried that Steamforged had kind of forgotten about it a little bit. That they were still kind of releasing new champions for the game. So we get a new champion roughly every 3 to 4 months, something like that. And whilst they were still releasing champions, they'd gone a bit quiet on the kind of like the communications front about the game. They'd not really kind of sort of shared much on social media. They hadn't really talked about it. Like a new champion would come out, they'd show like a silhouette of it, then they'd reveal like something like the picture of it and a little bit of information, maybe a rule or two off the card, and then the new model would come out, and then kind of almost radio silence for another 2 or 3 months until the next one come along. And I was saying that those people on the Discord group were talking about, like, you know, is this the end for the game? Like, has it been forgotten about a little bit? I appreciate they've got like all of their Kickstarters that make a lot more money, but it feels like this game's kind of been forgotten about. Anyway, I was completely wrong. Steamforged have not forgotten about GODTEAR, and they've got quite a lot of plans for GODTEAR this year. So back end of last year, they did a survey where they were asking people what they thought of the game and what sort of where it was and what do they enjoy about it, what do they think's missing from it, what kind of things would they like to see. And I suppose what they've done is they've been taking in a lot of information and kind of stewing about it and thinking about what the next steps for GODTEAR are. And so one thing that came up, if I can flick across to here, was Adepticon is coming up at the end of this month, and this week they shared some information about what their plans are at Adepticon. And I must admit, when I read it, it was like, yes, this is exactly what I want to see from games like GODTEAR, and especially GODTEAR, but this is what I want to see from those games when it comes to the big conventions. So I'm going to kind of skim read over this, but essentially, if you are going to Adepticon, you have even the slightest interest in GODTEAR, please head over to the Steamforged stand and check it out, because it says here, whether you're a GODTEAR veteran or you're just looking to learn more about our exciting hex-based tabletop game, you're in luck. There's tons to get involved with, and we're super excited for you to see what's in store. So what they are going to do is they're going to have game demos. So if you've never played the game before, as I said earlier on tonight, I urge you to go and try it with 3 champions versus 3 champions, not just kind of like 1 versus 1. But if you're looking to learn the ropes, you can book in and do an experience of GODTEAR in all its glory with a 2-hour guided introduction to a full-scale game. So each player joins a battle with a warband of 3 unique champions, and their followers, and it's perfect for beginners. You can also get a very quick demo at the Steamforged Games booth, but you can register for a proper full-on sort of guided 2-hour demo of a full-scale game. There's open play areas, so basically you can just join the battles, turn up with your friends, or play complete strangers, and you can even record your games to earn take-home prizes. So like you sometimes get in some of these big conventions, the more you play, the more points you earn, which can then enable you to win prizes with the points that you get. So you could literally sit for the whole of the Adepticon convention if you wanted to, and just play like open play games against random strangers if you wanted to. There's then a champion tournament as well, and it says champion tournaments are intended as an experience for players who've maybe only played a few games of God tier. So you can sharpen your skills with 3 rounds of play and record your games to earn take-home prizes. This tournament will suit new players and those looking to warm up for later events. So if you're brand new to it, maybe you don't need a demo, maybe you've played 1 or 2 games and you know enough, but you just want to kind of get involved and play a bit more, this is kind of like a beginner's event where it'll be a much more kind of calm and relaxed sort of experience. Everybody's pretty new. Not everybody knows the rules completely, so there'll be like lots of space to ask questions and learn how things work. But it will be run under a kind of tournament condition, if you like, with timed rounds and tournament rules. And then there is the Adepticon Open. So the Adepticon Open is basically you can test your skill, 4 rounds of play, and again you can record your games. So this is kind of like an open tournament. Anybody can play in it, but it's probably going to be more aimed at folks who have a little bit more experience. Then they have the Champion Clash Doubles. And he says, looking to have a laugh with a mate, choose your favourite champion and team up with a friend in this God tier doubles tournament. Record each game you play, earn take-home prizes. So this is a fantastic way just to have a bit of fun with a friend. 2 of you is playing doubles, 1 champion each, sort of 2 champions versus 2 champions on the table. It sounds like a lot of fun, and I think it's a great way just to get sort of like people alongside each other and playing the game. They then have the big one, which is the US Open, and this is going to be their annual big American tournament where they'll kind of like this is where they're kind of like champion of champions type thing. From the US Open, this is their big 5-round tournament. It also says though, but don't forget we're all here to have fun, which I think is a key component there as well. There's then the opportunity as well just to play with staff as an open player, so you can come along and just kind of challenge the Steamforged staff to a game as well. So maybe get to play against people like Jamie Perkins, people like Steve Margetson, who kind of like sort of are the sort of how to describe them really. They are the ones who they look after the game. They're the folks who basically craft all those new champions and keep the game going and look after it from that perspective. So yeah, so there's plenty of stuff going on. You can obviously sign up and get sort of like rack up your games points, trade those points in for prizes and things. But it's absolutely fantastic to see that Steamforged really have kind of committed to pushing this into Adepticon. Now you might be saying, well, I don't live in America. That's absolutely great, but it's no use to me. Well, if you're in the UK, then we're going to be seeing the UK Open at the UK Games Expo this June. So you can buy a ticket for the UK Open. You can experience God tier in all of its glory in this 5-round event using the champion timings. Select your roster of 4 champions and battle for prizes. So you turn up with 4 champions, and then when you come to play your game, you select 3 of them from your roster of 4. And this way you can you can change up your warband a little bit depending upon what your opponent has and what you think you're like, and also what the scenario is. So there's a tournament winner trophy, there's spot prizes on the day, which was have exclusive acrylic Boone and Blight tokens. There's exclusive champion dashboards for Fenrir, Jack, Lily, Skullbreaker and Styx, and there's champion expansion sets as well, including the newly released Fenrir. Now tickets for this are £6, which I think is fantastic for a day's tournament. You don't get many one-day tournaments for £6. However, you do have to buy a ticket to access the NEC as well. So you have to buy a UK Games Expo ticket to visit the actual show itself, and then once you're in the show, you then need to buy your ticket for the God Tier tournament. But I don't think £6 too bad. There are 32 tickets available. I've bought my ticket. I think I was either number 1 or number 2 to buy my ticket. So I'm going to be playing this year. It's one of those things where I think you can't, like, it's fair for me to kind of comment and call out Steamforged Games to say that I think they could, like, kind of publicly support their game a little bit more, and they could advertise it a bit more and communicate more stuff about it. But then when they do that, then I have to kind of, like, sort of put up or shut up, and I have to support these kind of things. And I'm really looking forward to playing the game of God Tier at UK Games Expo. I'll be there for the Friday, Saturday and Sunday, so I'm going to be there for 3 days, and I'm basically going to be spending the Saturday playing in the God Tier tournament. So if you're a fan of God Tier, if you're somebody that really kind of, you know, if you wish that you love the game, but you wish there was more people played it, or you love the game, but there's, like, you never see it played anywhere, but you'd love to play, support these kind of events. It's only by kind of getting out there and buying a ticket and supporting these events that we'll see more of them. If you see any local events, kind of turn up and join in, you know, like, sort of subscribe to them. I must admit, I've not managed to get to any events like in the UK, because unfortunately they've always been on dates that I've not been able to make, but I fully intend to try and kind of attend more God Tier events. It's a fantastic game. I really do enjoy it. I'm not telling you to go out and buy it. I'm not trying to sell the game to you, but if you're somebody that's interested in it, or if you're at Adepticon and you want to kind of try the game out, just kind of show it a little bit of support, because if we don't support the game, then there's no reason why Steamforged should support it either, really. So it's a bit of a two-way street in that regard. So yeah, so was kind of wrong about Steamforged and what they have planned for God Tier. It all gone a bit quiet, but thankfully it seems to be livening up a little bit this year. I guess things are much more back to normal in terms of convention seasons and people sort of turning up to play face-to-face games again. And it looks like 2023 is going to be the year that Steamforged get behind God Tier again. Let's have a little look here. Yeah, Jez is saying fair play to them. This looks like fun. I love the idea. I really love that idea of playing like a doubles tournament, or playing like just for fun, like doubles games. Cheese Me says news Kickstarter or relaunch. Neither, mate. They're basically just everything that's been released, all of the stuff that's already out there. It's all still relevant. There's nothing replacing it. It's not a relaunch. They're basically just getting behind the game a bit this year. They're just trying to sort of hype, like sort of big up the social media side of things. Get a little bit heavier on communication, try and push the game out, especially around like tournaments in convention season and stuff like that. They're just basically giving the game another push again, really. So it's not a relaunch, it's not new stuff. It's just basically kind of a little bit more sort of energy around the game. Jez says this is a bit like the way Confrontation Last Argument did stuff. Release the game, let it percolate out in the wild, and then give it a welly when the edges have been knocked off. I think you mean Conquest Last Argument, but yeah, you're absolutely right, mate. It's absolutely it absolutely is. It's a way to kind of sort of let it get out there a little bit and let people kind of get their hands on it. I mean, there's all sorts of reasons why God Tier is where it is. It unfortunately kind of came out right as we all kind of went into lockdown right at the start of 2020, and it kind of suffered from that. And I'd love to see it kind of get a second wind, to get an opportunity. It's such a good game that it kind of pains me that we don't hear more about it, like from Steamforged. And it's nice now that they're sort of stepping up to the plate, if you like, and they're starting to shout about it. As somebody that loves the game, it's the least I can do is try and kind of support what the efforts that they're trying to do. So, yeah, Lord Nova saying God Tier is such an awesome game. Yeah, I'm a big fan of it. VJ says, oh, Games Expo's on while I'm in the UK. I know what I'll be doing then. There you go, mate. Get your tickets. Warren says, the only day I'm going to the expo and there's a God Tier Tony. Yeah, I mean, it's an all day thing, so that might be a bit of a pain if you're only going for one day. But yeah, I mean, it's my favourite convention, I'll be honest. It's the one I go to every year if I can, and I tend to go for at least sort of like 2 or 3 days. So yeah, I don't mind taking a day out to play Guild Ball all day. Cheese Me says, I hope God Tier doesn't end up in the same situation with the same kind of Tony focused that only that killed Guild Ball. I think it's very different, mate. It's a very different game, and I wouldn't say tournament gaming killed Guild Ball. What I would say is that the game was intentionally designed to be a very competitive rule set, along the lines of kind of War Machine and things like that. Like the creators of Guild Ball played a lot of War Machine. That was where they came from. I used to play War Machine at the same time that they did. And so the game was designed to be very, very competitive. And all that happens is eventually over time, as you get lots and lots of teams and lots of stats, you get to a point where there's a bell curve of sort of the different war bands or the different teams and their abilities. And when the game is very tournament focused and is very competitive in its nature, ultimately what happens is everybody plays the models at the top end of that curve. So what happens is a new model comes out, and if it's either overpowered, if it's better than everything else and people don't like that, or it's in line with everything else and people say, well, it doesn't do anything that my team that I've got now doesn't do, kind of thing. So where God Tier is very different is, I would say it's a more relaxed game. I wouldn't say it's a competitive game in the same way. I think it's more relaxed to play. There's also, because you can take any different sort of, any 3 champions that you like, I wouldn't say there is an ultimate, these are the 3 champions that you take, because every champion almost has a counter a little bit. So if everybody took the same 3 champions, it would be quite easy to come in and then kind of break that meta by taking the 3 champions that counter play into them. Where I think when you've got one fixed team and everybody's just taking that one team, and there isn't a team that's a counter to that, that's where kind of Guild Ball was a bit different. I think Steamforged learned a lot from the Guild Ball experience, because it started off as a really, really tight rule set and some fantastic teams, and by the end of it, it just got to a point where the sales didn't really justify its existence anymore, because people were happy with what they already got. It was hard to release anything new for it at that point, I think. Anything new that people would buy, shall I say. So yeah, I think God Tier is a very different game, and I don't think it'll suffer from the same thing. But it's just such a super clean rule set. Where are we up to here? Clyde saying, now all we need is some love for Star Wars Armada. Yeah, I think it feels like it's down the pecking order a little bit for Atomic Mass Games Armada, but who knows? Cheese Me says, we need more companies to really show off their love for the games. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't disagree with that. I mean, I know I've kind of said in the past, it's free really to communicate this kind of stuff, like to talk about your game, social media posts, YouTube videos, all that kind of stuff. It's free, and it kind of is, but time isn't free. And if somebody is focusing on writing communication posts and making YouTube videos and all that kind of stuff, they're not doing something else. And that's where it becomes kind of, where do you get your best bang for your buck? Like, there's lots of companies who have loads of different products. So where Steamforged have focused quite sort of predominantly over the last few years on their Kickstarters with things like Bardsong and Elden Ring and that kind of thing. Other companies have done very similar things. Mantic have focused very heavily on like Firefighting, Kings of War, and games like Dreadball haven't really had much like kind of talked about, like, for example, even though they're still a thing that exists. Atomic Mass Games have spent a lot of time on maybe sort of Marvel Crisis Protocol and maybe a little bit of like Legion and stuff, and things like Armada have kind of sort of fallen by the wayside a little bit. So that there's a lot of companies do it. It's just about putting the effort where it's required. What I would say about God Tier is it's just a game that's it really is so good that like it deserves to have people have the opportunity to try it out and then judge for themselves, as opposed to be this thing that nobody touches because they assume it's dead because the company doesn't talk about it, kind of thing. Big Dave saying, anyone planning going to Mantic Open Day? It's a bit far off, mate, to kind of think about that. It really depends upon what's kind of coming up for the Open Day, because at the minute I kind of feel that I already know all of the stuff that's coming up prior to the open day. Some of it because Ronnie told me about it last year, and some of it because like a lot of it was leaked. So like, for example, we know about Dungeon Saga Origins. They've been talking about that. The chances are they might have like sort of some early copies available for the open day for people to play, maybe, or something like that. But it's not going to be for sale because it won't be produced. It won't be like released at that point. So I don't feel like I need to kind of attend for that. We already know kind of there's some stuff that's going to be announced soon about Armada, which I know about, but it's going to be like the next release news for that. For me at the minute, I feel like we hear so much stuff now, like so much stuff gets talked about, either be it on like on blogs or posts or stuff like that. There's nothing new to see by the time the open day comes around, where in the past the open days used to showcase a few bits and pieces. So I think for me it's a bit of a wait and see when it gets closer. It's not until October or something, is it? So yeah, we've got quite a bit of time to wait and see for that one. Jess is saying Conquest, that's it. Yeah, kind of a soft launch. It's a good idea. Yeah. Cheese Me says, I hope Mythic Battles Pantheon gets the same treatment. I tell you what, Mythic Battles isn't that? Is it Monolith Games that's got that, or somebody else got that now? Because I know Mythic were like selling loads of stuff off. It never was Mythic though, was it? I don't think. Yeah, Cheese Me saying, I really need to get my stuff out of storage or find a way to get the UK Games Expo. Yeah, I was already going to go to UK Games Expo anyway, and I'd booked my hotel. And then Jamie from Steamforge Games messaged me and said, are you going to the Expo this year? And I says, yeah, I am going. And he went, oh, because we're going to do the UK Championship for GODTEAR. He said, it would be cool if you kind of come along. And it was like, yeah, I'm absolutely already in. And then when they announced it, I went straight. They announced it on Saturday that it was happening. Sorry, the tickets went on sale on Saturday. So I went straight on and bought my ticket. And it's not like I think it's going to necessarily sell out. Like 32 tickets is still quite a lot for a game that's almost having a renewed interest, shall we say. But I want to show my support. I want to get in there early and show that I appreciate that they're doing some stuff for this. Fud says, with the new Fenrir, you gain a lot of mobility. I can't wait to see how it pairs with Mournblade. Fenrir's main thing is being able to move stuff around. She's really good at being able to move other things. She benefits from having other followers like kind of surround the enemy and she can gang up on them. I think she'll be taking out kind of enemy followers for fun. And every time she takes out an enemy follower, you can move a model. Was it within three hexes, 1 hex? So you'll be able to like sort of like there'll be all sorts of shenanigans you can do, moving champions into to crush banners and moving sort of friendly followers to surround models and block routes out and things like that, and blocking off routes for other champions so that they can't go in and stamp flatten your banner. I think it's going to be really, really good. Ed says, are you taking the belt with you? I think that would be a little bit of that'll be a little bit of showing off, wouldn't it, mate? If I took my belt along and just if I sit down to play just with a belt over my shoulder and just go, so how long have you been playing then? Yeah, I think that might be a little bit much, mate. But yeah, I might have a photograph of it just to show. John Estel, hello mate, how you doing? He said he's just joined after a game of Grimdark. How do you find it, mate? I must admit I've briefly read the rules for the one-page rule stuff, but I must admit I've never really seen a game played, so I don't know a huge amount about it. Right, what we'll do is we will go over the last of the here we go. The last of the entries for February, and then we'll get on to the Star Wars Shatterpoint stuff. And we've got, first up, is this Marcus? Let me just double that. Yeah, Marcus Schneider. Here we go. So, this lovely looking thing here. Marcus says, I love seeing me some dead guardsmen. I also reference photo of the hopper bug from the movie. So this is the reference picture that he used to paint his models. And then here's some of the stuff that he's been painting. So he says, first off, his January paint challenge. Oh, so the Gene Stealers are from his January painting challenge because I think he forgot to submit them. So yeah, they look nice to me. I must admit, there's something about Tyranids that I actually quite like for 40k. I do like that kind of sort of alien sort of swarm aesthetic, I must admit. Nice colour choice with the purple as well, mate. So, he said, as a February painting challenge is similar to last year's, I try to lead the year off with painting a Tyranid Hive Tyrant. And also, like last year, I painted them in the paint scheme of the Starship Troopers Arachnid Flying Hopperbug. Using Army Painter Metallics and a new brand of paints called Turbo Dork, I think I found my proper method of getting my desired result. And finally, what Starship Troopers inspired project would be complete without a few mobile infantry. Would you, using a few classic Cadian shock troopers, would you like to know more? So yes, this is what he's been painting. And I must admit, it does look really nice. It almost looks see-through on those wings. It almost looks like it's kind of clear, and it's the white of the background that's showing through. It looks really nice. The orange against the green as well with the blue. Just a really, really nice colour choice. And it sounds like you've really managed to nail down your colours with this, mate. It looks fantastic. Love the kind of almost rainbow effect of it. It's almost like that kind of like wet oil sort of colour range across the top. I love that, mate. Really, really nice. Yeah, and you can see there the wings, it's painted as opposed to see-through, but on those other pictures it really did look see-through. Love this basin as well, mate. You'll have to tell me what you did here, because I might steal that basin idea for something I've got in mind at the minute. It just looks really straightforward and exactly what I'm looking for. But yeah, beautiful colour choices, mate. Love that across the back. Very, very nice indeed. And I love that orange, really stands out. And here it is killing some mobile infantry. I love the models that you've got lined up as well. I think we got some close-ups of those in a minute, but they look fantastic. This one spiked through the chest there. That is brilliant, mate. Really, really nice work. I love it. Here they are. Looking like they've had better days on the job, shall we say. I love those, mate. Really well done. Thank you so much for submitting them, mate. Really do appreciate that. Skullduggery. And Skullduggery says, hi there, Skullduggery, or TJ. He said, this is what he's been working on for February's painting challenge. These dungeon tiles, there's 9 of them, are still a work in progress, but this is basically what they'll look like when they're done. For the theme, I'm making these for my husband's D&D game. So lots of love there. As a bonus, the lighting theme, we have programmable lights, was set to love is in the air when the pick was taken. Thanks for setting up this challenge. It helped motivate me to do hobby things this month. Thank you very much, Skullduggery. It looks awesome. Love the tiles. So this is going to be for D&D game. Loving them. I want to see a picture of it when it's all set up as well. Awesome work. Thank you very much, TJ. Clyde Dashing, sir. You're up next, and Clyde has been doing these. Presenting the 2 worst lovers, Geralt of Riviera and Yennefer of Venderberg, the Witcher. Both are from the Monster Fight Club range. Very nice, mate. I love this. Nice bit of bass in there. Love the little bits of kind of tufts in the background. Really, really nicely done. Skin tone on here looks lovely. Nice colour choices with the purples as well, mate. Very, very nice indeed. I love that. The 2 worst lovers. Really nice work, mate. I love them. I'm not familiar with the Monster Fight Club stuff. Did they make terrain as well? I feel like I might have saw some of the terrain before, but I don't think I realised they made miniatures. I'll have to do some digging and find out more, because they're very nice, mate. Thank you very much. And thank you for submitting them for the challenge. Chris Lupton. So Chris, he said this is his submission for February's painting challenge. It's the Warhammer Plus Age of Sigmar models. I really love the Chaos Familiars. They're just one piece models and are pretty easy to paint, but they're just great and full of character. I think the Sorcerer loves her little familiars too. Nice one, Zingbo. I like these, mate. I don't think I've seen these from Warhammer Plus, but I do like them. I love this little sort of cauldron with teeth there. Let me just zoom in and show that one off there. Really nice. Lovely colours here on this purple as well, mate. I love the highlighting and the shading on this. This is really nice as well with a little boot there with the teeth. Looks very much like the what they're called, the beast what they called, beastman type of weapons and stuff. These are cool as well. I love this. Really nice, beautiful work on them, mate. Should be proud of those. Love them. Thank you very much, Chris. Next up is Mr. Ben Mitchell. And Ben has been painting some MCP models, and he says, I'll keep it simple. Who doesn't love Marvel? I do, mate. So yeah, good choice. So we've got Crossbones here. We've got Doc Ock, Captain America, and Baron Zemo. Looking awesome. So these are all from the Marvel Crisis Protocol starter box, but super clean jobs, mate. Love what you've done there with the shield and the star and the stripes on here. I know these stripes here are not easy to paint. I remember doing mine. But yeah, and even just making sure you get nice clean edges to the shield and stuff as well. Done a cracking job on those, mate. Love the colours here as well on Zemo. Yeah. Should be rightly proud of them, mate. They'll look awesome in a table game. Fantastic work. Thank you for the submission. Next up, Mr. Andrew Carradis. And Andrew has given me a couple of emails here. So these have been painting some Malifaux models. So he's got some more Dreamer things, he says. These are pretty cool. I love the eyes on them and the juxtaposition of the little heart for the nose and the big sort of like doughy eyes and then all these teeth. Very nice. I do like that, mate. These look cool as well. Little stitched on button for the eye there as well, cute. And then their massive claws. I do love that, and the little heart stitched on the front here. You definitely love those, wouldn't you? How could you not love them? Really nice, mate. Cracking work on those ones. And then on his other email he sent me, he said he was been working his way through all the different keywords. So this is some other stuff that he's been working on as well for Malifaux. This one here is the Lord Cooper model. Not familiar with this one, if I'm honest. Does look cool though. Very nice. Love the snow bases. Really good. We've got some piggies there. Yeah, I really do like them bases, mate. Nice work. We've got, is that a Wendigo? Some wolves there. Nice. Love the purple eyes. Really good. And the base in there as well. Yeah, that's those. Thank you very much, mate. And then I think we have, last but not least, Mr. Ed Hanley. And Ed, as if you need any introduction, as if I need to read these, we've got oh, there we go. And he said, I'm still intending to do Anakin and Padme, but it struck me that Din and Grogu represented really good take on the theme of love too. See, they're here. Perfect timing for the new series, mate. They look awesome. I love them. Snow bases are really nice. The Grogu eating the kind of like the weird little frog thing looks brilliant as well, mate. I love those. I don't think I've seen those for Legion. Are they out for Legion now? I don't think I've seen them, but they look fantastic. And then here are the other two as well, and Anakin and Padme. I love the background as well, mate. It really sets them off. Really, really nice. Yeah. So there we go. Anakin and Padme. I love the white on here as well, mate. The colour choice is really good. I love how it's kind of got some shading to it. I love the base on them as well. And that blue for the saber looks fantastic. Eyes as well. I'm proud, mate. Joel, thank you very much for joining the Patreon there as well. Really appreciate it. Just flashed up on the screen there while I was looking. Yeah, nice work. And that is our submissions for February. So thank you very, very much, every one of you, for taking part. Let's have a little look in the chat, see what you fine folks are saying. Yeah, everybody seems to be enjoying theirs. Turbo Dork is colour shift. No, I think. Oh yes, Super Punker Man saying, yeah, Turbo Dork colour shift paints. That's what they were on those Tyrannid stuff. Yeah. Nice one. Clyde says they were first all terrain, but now they're doing minis. Yeah, that's what I must have heard them. I think I seem to remember them doing terrain. I hadn't realised they were doing mini stuff as well. Night Night Cheese Me, thank you very much for popping in. Yeah, really nice. Malafor Murder Hamster. There's a name for a model. I like that. A genocidal gerbil. There we go. Yeah, nice work. So thank you very much, everyone that took part. I guess I should give you a challenge now for March as well, shouldn't I? So I think what we'll do is for March's challenge, we will use the subject March to War. So I'm looking for your March to War being the theme. So I'm looking for you if you want to do a troop of soldiers for your army. If you're painting up something for your army, maybe you're painting up a sergeant or like a leader for one of your army models. If you want to paint up kind of like a general model, just one general on its own. If you're painting up any historical stuff. It can be a fantasy army, a sci-fi army. When I say army, I just mean a figure. It doesn't really matter, but think about the theme of March to War. So it might be that they're kind of like, it might be the comms guy getting ready to call in the troops, something along those lines. So yeah, you make it fit. It's always a bit of a loose theme. I just want to see you picking up brushes and getting painting. So don't think that you can't sort of submit something. No matter how loose you think it works, it works. I just want to see your cool painted minis. So yes, March to War. And let me give you some dates. Let's have a look at the dates and see when the submission will be, because I'm a week behind where we should be. So, if I say, what's the date today? It's a 6th day, 1, 2, 3. If I give you 4 weeks, that gives you until Sunday the 2nd of April, and we will show them off on Monday the 3rd, because I'm not here the week after. It's a bank holiday Monday on that Monday, and I'm away on holiday with the family for a few days, so I won't be there on the 10th. So we'll do it for the 3rd. So you've got until Sunday the 2nd of April, midnight. Remember, email your pictures to me. blackjacklegacy@gmail.com is the email address that you need. And you've got 4 weeks to do those. March to War is your theme. There you go. Yeah, everyone's saying very nice. Some good variety saying Jez. Yoakum Seal, well done. Everyone with a challenge. Jez is saying, yeah, good call. And Tony saying you might have to dig out Severina Rain or whatever her name is. Yeah, however you can make it work, make it work. So what we'll do now is then, I want to talk about the last kind of topic. So Shatterpoint by Atomic Mass Games, obviously the new Star Wars game, is coming out later this year. I'm really excited for it. I have my pre-order in there. I've kind of put my money where my mouth is. I'm looking forward to it. But we got some more information today about how the game will play. I know there's a lot of people concerned. They don't want to pledge their money, sort of pre-order the game until they've seen some gameplay and things. But Atomic Mass Games have been pretty good with starting to drip feed some information out. And today we got to find out a little bit more about the stat cards. And what we now know from the stat cards is that this is what a stat card will look like, and we have the different abilities here down the left hand side. We've got this first symbol here, which is kind of like the circle with the arrow down, which is an active ability, and these can be used at any time during a unit's activation. And you must use a force token to be able to kind of use this ability. So this force jump costs 1 force token to be able to use it. We have another kind of ability here, this kind of sort of almost recycle symbol type thing, and these are reactive abilities. And what a reactive ability is, it can only be used in response to a specific triggering event. So these things can happen outside of your activation when your enemy's attacking you. So for example, this one here, I'm going to end this, will cost you 2 force tokens, and after this unit makes a combat action, it may use this ability. One character in this unit may make an attack targeting one of the same enemy characters within range and line of sight, which is quite powerful. It basically gets you to use like a second attack action for free. We've got another symbol here as well, and this one is called an innate ability, and there are two types of innate abilities. There are tactics and there's identities, and this one is an identity ability, and basically it's a special ability unique to primary units, and this explains how it's triggered. So, and also these innate abilities don't use force tokens either. You can see deflect here doesn't have any force tokens beside it. That means it doesn't cost any force tokens to use it. And then down on the right hand side here we've got stamina and we've got durability. Now stamina is, think of it like health points. So basically Anakin Skywalker can take 11 points of damage until it basically you kind of like lose your first life as such. And what you do is you lose one of your durability tokens. So essentially you've got 11 health 3 times. So a total of, you take a total of 33 damage before your model is taken out. And you might be saying, well, why don't they just give them 33 points of damage? The reason they've done that is every time you take, every time you lose one of your durability, for example, so every time you take 11 damage, your durability would go down to 2. And what that does is, because you're becoming gradually damaged, each one of your abilities costs 1 extra force token to use. So if you've taken 12 damage, force jump now costs 2 force tokens. I'm going to end this now costs 3 force tokens, and deflect now costs 1 force token. So basically, if you're familiar with Marvel Crisis Protocol, how when your character gets damaged, they basically get knocked out, and you can flip the card to the damaged side. Some of their abilities either cost more or they're more difficult to do. That's exactly what we're going to start seeing here in Star Wars Shatterpoint. So it looks really interesting. What we also found out today as well, there's something here as well, is that's basically some what was this one as well, like it says that tactics are perhaps the most powerful abilities available to players. They almost always allow the unit that has them to provide bonuses to allied units in their strike team. So we can see here how Bo-Katan Kryze has Pride of the Mandalore, and at the start of this unit's activation you can choose another allied Mandalorian character. So remember, Mandalorian is a keyword, and the other units which we know that Gar Saxon has, the chosen character may then, whatever this is, jump, move. I'm not really sure what that symbol means at the moment, but they'll be able to do that. So this is where the keywords and the abilities of how everything like ties together will start to work as well. Now we also started to talk about how attacks will work, and it hasn't gone into kind of too much detail about it, but we know that models have something called a stance card, and that's what this is. And this basically, it says that some stance cards, typically the primary units, which are like your leader models if you like, are double-sided and can be flipped back and forth between different fighting styles. This adds another element of tactical choice and personalization to the main characters of each squad. So you can see here what we've got is like what they call these combat trees. And I'm guessing at some of this stuff, but it looks at the moment that if we take, for example, we've got Lord Maul here. There's a little dash here next to like a ranged weapon. I'm assuming that means that he doesn't have a ranged weapon, so he doesn't roll any attack dice. Underneath, I'm assuming this means that if he is defending a ranged weapon, he rolls 5 defense dice. And here he has his kind of his close combat weapon, if you like, his lightsaber. He rolls 7 attack dice. And I'm assuming that if he's trying to defend against a kind of a close combat weapon like a lightsaber, he rolls his 5 defense dice. Now I've tried to kind of work through this and see how this will work, but it's very difficult to understand without any more context. If you're familiar with games like GODTEAR, Guild Ball and Arena Rex, where there's kind of like a combat scale, where in Guild Ball, the more successes you've got, the more you would wrap around your playbook and the more things that you were able to do. In Arena Rex, you kind of move down like a sort of a branching sort of combat tree, and the more successes you get, the more things you can do, but you choose which path to take. I assume it's going to work in some way like that, but with the information we've got, it's not very easy to see. Other than we kind of know from this document that these kind of like sort of explosion symbols are damage. So I'm assuming this means 2 damage, 2 damage. This little arrow could mean something like I think there's a dash available, so you could be able to like damage and dash. So it might be the more successes you get, the more you can kind of move through this combat tree. So if you've got 1 success, you do 2 damage. If you've got 2 successes, you can choose to go down this route or go up to that route and do a total of 4 damage. And then you're kind of moving along, and you can take branching decisions depending upon kind of how many successes you got. Now, I'm sure we'll find out more probably next Monday about exactly how some of this works. But it looks like that's what we've got. We've got this strange symbol here as well, which it took me a little while to work out what it was. And I assume, based upon the fact that it's on the card here next to stamina, that it's a way to heal. So I'm assuming that what you can do is, for example, here, if you get 1 success, maybe you can deal 1 damage to your opponent and maybe heal your own model with 1 point of damage, if you like. So it's going to be really interesting to see how this all comes together. Like I say, I'm really excited about the game. I'm looking forward to seeing it. I'm looking forward to getting my hands on it. I've pre-ordered it. It's coming. It's shipping out on June the 2nd. So I'll be at UK Games Expo, and hopefully it gets shipped out and it'll be there when I get back home on the Sunday evening. If not, it'll be the next week and I won't have missed out on it. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to getting my hands on it. So what do you lot think? Who else is interested? Who else fancies it at the minute? Let's have a little look and see how else. Lord Novus is saying the Star Wars mechanics sound really cool. Yeah, I must admit, I think they're starting to come together. Jess is saying, best thing about Shatterpoint, I've picked up cheap Imperial Assault minis for Stargrave. Yeah, definitely, mate. 10 Sketch says, this isn't a complaint, but Shatterpoint, despite what AMG says, really is MCP with Star Wars skin. I don't know why they insist otherwise. It's definitely not, mate. I must admit, it's the same as in, like, it's a skirmish game, as in, like, you don't need many models, but it doesn't play the same way. I'm just like likening it to it. So the way you take damage in Marvel Crisis Protocol, how you've got a damaged side, I'm trying to kind of liken it to that, but that's not how this works. So there was another explanation a few weeks ago about how the game works. That basically there is no turns as such. You just keep playing on, like it's all one continuous turn until somebody kind of achieves the what's it called again? The struggle. Until somebody achieves the struggle. And essentially what you do is each of your units has a card. You basically take all of the cards for your units, you shuffle them together and you put them face down, and then you take the first card from your pile, and that's the model that you have to activate. You don't choose which one to activate. That's the model that you activate. Then your opponent takes the card from the top of their pile. That's the one that they activate. And you go backwards and forwards until all of those cards are used. One of those cards that you have in that deck is called a Shatterpoint card, and that's almost like a wild card where you can activate any model that you want, even one that's already activated. So some models can get like double activations. Then at the end of that turn where everybody's used all of their cards, they basically, anything that's still alive, you take their card, put it back into a pile, shuffle them, and start going through them again. But it's all part of the same round. It's not like turn 1, turn 2, turn 3, or anything like that. You just keep going. You don't move any models. You don't reset anything. You don't take tokens off. You don't replenish stuff. You just keep going. So you have your force abilities. You get your force tokens at the start of the round, and they have to last as long as that struggle takes. And then you can replenish them when you start a new struggle and start again. So I think it's a really interesting mechanic. I think they've obviously, there's some kind of things that they'll have learned from Marvel Crisis Protocol, but I think the games are different enough that they kind of stand separate, if I'm honest. VG saying it looks confusing. I don't think it's going to be too bad. I mean, I think once you kind of understand the rules behind it, I think it's going to be pretty straightforward. Clyde saying it could be worse. It could be a 300-page book with magazine supplements. Yeah. VJ says, what's the board game presence at UK Games Expo like? It's pretty much all board games, mate, to be honest. There's not a huge amount of miniatures games. It's pretty much all board gaming stuff. John Shepherd says, what size are the figures? The figures are about 40mm scale, so same size as the Marvel Crisis Protocol stuff. Not that much bigger than kind of sort of like what we would class as kind of 28, 32mm stuff, really, in the grand scheme of things. But yeah, it's big enough that nice to paint, I would say. In line with the Marvel Crisis Protocol size of miniatures. Clyde saying, I wasn't sold before, but I may give it a whirl. And Ed saying, yeah, I pre-ordered on the day. I must admit, mate, when I made the video a few weeks ago about should you pre-order yet, I was really excited about it. I keep hearing people... But the only thing that I would say is there seem to be quite a few negative voices online. And I think these negative voices are coming from people who are Legion players who wish it was the same scale and are quite bitter about it. Or maybe Armada players who are just unhappy the fact that their game isn't getting the same love as maybe Shatterpoint is. So what I would suggest is kind of zone that out. Like, take that with a pinch of salt. There's some negative people online, as there is for anything. But, and obviously, that you then add in Star Wars into the mix, you're going to find some negative people. Just judge it on its own merits for what it means to you. Don't kind of buy into the negativity for it, because I think if you did read a lot of the negative stuff, you might start to think, oh, maybe this is not for me. But like, kind of read beyond that, I would say. Ed saying, yeah, they both have 40mm minis and use range movement tools. That seems to be pretty much the common features. I was expecting it to be much closer. I was expecting it to be closer, mate, and I wouldn't have been that disappointed if it was. But there's quite a difference between them, I think. Mel Girth is saying there's no rounds in Shatterpoint. Exactly. Greg saying, I'm tired of people comparing to MCP. Yes, you have resources and range tools. That's about it. Yeah, I mean, there is quite a... I think there's a big difference. And I think it's interesting that... What I would say is it feels like the first game in a while that has really kind of innovated in terms of trying to do something a bit different. Like the way they've done this kind of like this struggle tracker where you basically gain momentum by doing things, which basically blocks out the length of your struggle tracker, essentially shortening it down, and you get movement on the struggle tracker towards your side by doing other things, like taking out models, like sort of by wounding them. And we now know how wounding a model works, by taking off like the first lot of health from them, if you like. It basically wounds them. You get a movement on the tracker. They then become, they're weaker, so they have to use more force power to be able to do things. So it kind of starts to weaken down their models. I think that all just sounds really interesting. I think it's very, very different from anything else, and I can't wait for it. Jake Wallier, hello Jake. He said, did I miss what you said about GODTEAR? I'm just joining now. Yes, unfortunately, mate. Yeah, I did talk about it earlier on, but essentially, I was talking about just how much I feel like Steamforged are starting to kind of turn the boat around a little bit this year, and how it feels like 2023 might be the year of GODTEAR, and that this is their opportunity to really give it like another push and see if we can get it in front of a few more faces and get it to the table. John says there's more miniatures and mini games gaming now than there used to be at UK Games Expo. I've been going since it started. There's definitely more than it used to be, but there's still a lot less than you would see at, say, Adepticon or other big events. It's definitely much more board game focused. Like if you think about from a retail perspective, there are a lot fewer war game sort of sellers, miniature game sellers, than they are like board game stuff to buy. Ed saying, I'm a Legion and Armada player. I've not heard too much bad from those communities. Quite a lot of salt from MCP players until the rules started to be shown off. To be honest, mate, it's the salt is in the Shatterpoint Facebook groups. Like, unfortunately, there are people who've already like made their mind up that this game is not for them for whatever the reason is. but they like to go into the Shatterpoint Facebook groups and like mouth off about how bad it all is, kind of thing. And and unfortunately, that's what I'm talking about. I'm not saying it's in Legion groups, and I'm not saying it's in Armada groups. It's in the Shatterpoint groups itself. 10 sketches. To be fair to other Star Wars game fans, their negativity was fueled by the fact AMG paid MCP an awful lot of attention versus the games they inherited. However, they've really stepped it up recently. I think there's an element of how much control did they have, like what state were things in when they took it over? How big was their team? Was their team big enough to manage all of that stuff? Like, let's not forget, they've been working on Shatterpoint for about 2 years now. So they were working on Shatterpoint before they inherited Star Wars Legion and Star Wars Armada and Star Wars X-Wing. I don't think the size of their team got dramatically bigger. So I think there's all sorts of things that have gone on behind the scenes rather, that we're just not privy to, I think. So it kind of cut them some slack for that, but I would completely appreciate it. If it was the game that I loved and I played and it wasn't getting any love, I'm sure I would feel the same way. Clyde is still waiting for some sign of anything for Star Wars Armada. Yeah, I must admit, I'm not that close to it to really to know what the plans are for that, or how much it is or isn't getting. VG said, yeah, awesome. Looking forward to UK Games Expo now. Jumping in with you, mate. We'll drop you a message to line things up. No worries, bud. Lord Nova says, the way you select units in Star Wars sounds cool to me. In the first version of Moonbreaker, they had similar unit activation mechanic, but also relied on a resource. Yeah, I'm not familiar with Moonbreaker. I've seen people I've seen people who don't like the idea of random activation, but I think some of them were getting it wrong. Some of them thought you shuffled everybody's cards together, both players' cards. You shuffled them together and then randomly drew them from the top. So that basically I could end up activating all of my models before one of yours come out, which is not right. You basically have two different decks. So if you're familiar with Star Wars Legion, for example, there's an element of randomness to your units. I mean, you can try and manage it by the cards that you play to kind of when you do that kind of like bidding thing at the start of the game, where this lets me pick two units that I'm going to activate, and then everything else is random kind of thing. There's that kind of thing to it. But I like the fact that it makes for a much quicker game, because there'll be none of this like, oh, which one should I activate? Like, if I do this, you'll probably activate that one. I need to get there before this one does this thing, or like I don't want to move this one because if I go first, you'll react to it. There'll be none of that kind of like metagame and kind of analysis paralysis. It'll just be flick the card over, right? Bo-Katan is getting activated now. I'm going to do my two actions, kind of thing. And I think it'll make it a really kind of quick sort of game. And the fact you've got this like wild card, Shatterpoint card in that pile that allows you to activate any model you want, either one that's already activated or one that hasn't activated yet, I think is a nice little twist in just kind of how that works. Yeah, Greg saying my whole Legion group is so salty about Shatterpoint. Yeah, I do get it to an extent. I'm not the kind of person that sort of feels the need to be negative about something that I'm not really interested in or isn't for me, or I'm like, it's like if it's not for me, then I'm not really interested in it. Like if I was going to do that, I'd basically be sitting here every week just saying about how rubbish all the games are that I don't play. Like, I don't really see the point in that, but I can see why people get upset about it. But sometimes it's time to kind of like let go of that, isn't it? Waffles Enjoyer says it's fascinating how they announced Legion special operations in the lead up to Shatterpoint. Yeah, I mean, it's up for kind of beta testing now, isn't it? People can try that out. They've been a bit quiet about that since, but I guess it's just a way to maybe give folks who are Legion players, if you like, something to play at a smaller scale. John says, I'm only going to UK Games Expo on the Friday this year. Probably hope I bump into you, mate. I'll definitely be around, mate. By all means, give me a shout and I'll be able to say hi. But yeah, I'll be there for the full 3 days. Jess says, there's a thing that isn't out yet that I'm furious and vocal about it. You missed off the bit, and we don't really know anything about it. Clyde saying, I like the idea of not painting tens of minis in white armor. I can do 4 or 5 though. That was one of the reasons why Legion kind of bounced off me a little bit at the start. I love Star Wars and I was really excited for Legion, but there was a bit of a slow release schedule in the early days. Like, I think they really had some problems with getting like products out there, and for quite a big chunk of the early part of Legion's life, there was just lots of white armored stuff basically if you were an Empire player. And if you played the Rebels and stuff, you essentially had lots of brown clothed kind of rebels really. So there wasn't a lot of like variety. Like, it took quite a while to get like other optional like leader models out there. So you saw a lot of Luke versus Vader and Vader versus Vader. Like, you saw a lot of that in the early days. So I decided to kind of hold off and wait for the game to kind of catch up and wait for it to release more stuff. And then there was some kind of like a bit availability issues with things, and it just got to the point where I think my interest in it wavered, and I decided not to bother with it really. And it's not that it's a bad game. I do like the system. Excuse me. I think Legion is a really clever game, and I love the way they got those movement templates in there. It was something that I had not really seen before. I love the dice mechanics. It is a fun game, but it just didn't gel with me at the right time, I think. Ed saying the FFG teams for X-Wing Legion were supposed to move over, but that meant moving from Midwest to Seattle, at which point they all upped and quit. Yeah, I think there's definitely an element of like there's more to it than just AMG not paying attention to those games kind of thing. Yeah, Intense Sketches saying it was anecdotally a nightmare. AMG apparently had no clue until the 11th hour, didn't get enough staff, and the staff that did move got made redundant within a year. So I cut them some slack. They basically quadrupled their workload overnight, quintupled if you include the fact they were secretly working on Shatterpoint. Yeah, and I guess these are always the bits that we never get to hear the full story, and like, it must be hard when you're on the other side of it. You know, you're a team of, let's say, 10 people or something working on a game, and people are just absolutely battering you for not looking after their thing, kind of thing. And everybody's right to a point. Like, you're entitled to have an opinion about the thing you love and the thing you spend money on and the thing you support and buy. But sometimes we have to just remember, like, there's humans at the other side of it. There's just people doing a job in the same way we all just do a job. You know, it's like, I think sometimes it's hard to separate those things. Clyde says, I just can't paint repetitive large numbers, especially white. Yeah, I must admit, I remember painting my Stormtroopers, and whilst I'm quite proud of them now, I remember at the time there was a lot of gnashing of teeth and like frustrated, like, oh. Clyde saying, my annoyance isn't at AMG, it's the parent company mismanagement. I think we can get into those kind of conversations about, like, we often do about Games Workshop, about FFG or Asmodee, for example. And at the end of the day, like, I think it's interesting because we have complaints as consumers and as fans of a game and as fans of a system. We want to see things kind of done our way. But then if you think about them as companies, they have very different objectives. They have shareholders. They have sort of boards who are basically telling them, like your target this year is not to keep like Billy in Newcastle happy kind of thing with these Legion minis. You need to like sort of grow the brand. We want to take it in this direction. You need to cut costs here. You need to kind of break into this new market. This new game is our focus this year because this one makes more money. There's all those things that happen in the background that, like, you know, it's corporate stuff, and we might not be big fans of it, but that's just how big companies work. And again, the vast majority of people that get the thick end of this kind of hate, if you like, are generally just people like me and you going about their job, being fortunate to work in an industry that they absolutely love. Like, nobody works in like sort of miniature sculpting or like game design or like working in like sort of board game manufacture or working in board game sort of marketing and things without really being a fan of that kind of stuff. For a lot of people who work in the industry, it's a bit of a dream come true, really. So they're just normal people doing something that they've been fortunate to kind of like to get into, and then basically they have the wrath of the internet giving them such a hard time. Of course, there's some corporate people at the top, CEOs and vice presidents and all that kind of stuff, who are so sort of so distant from the actual product and from the actual customer, and they're making decisions based upon money and making and profit. Of course, you're always going to get that, but you get that in any company. You get that in the company that if you buy sausages, somewhere in that sausage company, there's somebody at the top of the list who is just about making money. They don't really care. They don't want to put the best ingredients in there. They want to put the cheapest ingredients in there and all that kind of stuff. McDonald's has got them. Amazon's got them. Apple's got them. Nike's got them. It doesn't matter what the company is. Everybody's got somebody at the top of the chain whose only focus is on about making more money. But unfortunately, in the games industry, it's the people at the bottom who seem to take the hate. The people that actually are customer facing, if you like, the people who put their name out there, the people who say, I designed this game, and everybody piles on them, even though we don't get to see the fact that they might have been told to design the game, it has to fit in this box, because that's the optimum box size to get the most on a pallet, so we make the most money. So therefore, you can't make that fabulous board that you want to make. It needs to be slightly smaller. Like, there's all those kind of decisions that, like, we never really get to see. Jason Newell says, you have to remember that a business is in the business of staying in business. 100%, mate, yeah. 10 sketches, not to mention the ongoing threat of the mouse pulling the Star Wars and Marvel licenses, which no doubt are making Asmodee insane stacks of cash. Not something you'd want to lose. Yeah, I'm assuming that there's limitations on all that kind of stuff as well. Of course there is. VJ says, you couldn't convince me to work in the games industry. Way too much toxicity in the fan community. It's really interesting. I mean, I get to see a small amount of it, not necessarily aimed at me, but just being on this kind of like the creation side of things. You have to kind of keep it like a broad eye on what's happening and which new games are coming out, and you know who's designing it and when's it releasing and what do people think of it, what are people talking about. And there are times where I just think like there are some, I'm not going to kind of name any particular names or anything like that, but there are some games that when I'm like looking at them, and I don't mean 40k in this regard, by the way, like so like, but just there are some games and there are some communities where I just think people are awful. Like people are not nice. Like why are people saying horrible things to each other? Why are people giving these people a load of grief about this thing? Why are people getting up in arms about that thing that they've got no intention of buying, they've never played before, they're not interested in, but they're shouting and screaming from the top of their voices, and sometimes that negativity can like really grind you down a little bit, and you have to just step away from it and just go like, look, it's not my fight kind of thing. Yeah, yes, I'm trying to learn about this thing. I'm trying to make sure I'm more knowledgeable about it. I'm trying to make sure I know as much as I can. But surrounding myself with negative people is not good for me kind of thing. So yeah, I can imagine when it's your job and you don't get the choice to walk away from that. And especially if you work in a big corporation, like if we take Games Workshop as an example, the people on the front line, the game designers and the army painters and all that kind of stuff, they're basically like, I'm sure that they're being told by higher ups, if you like look at the hate that we're getting online for this thing, you need to do something about it. So like I can imagine there must be it must be like spinning plates. Waffles Enjoyer says, Peachy has mentioned that he doesn't think that the forecasters at GW are hobbyists, which explains why they seem to frequently have production volumes mismatched to demand. I did see that actually, and I've got a certain amount of experience from my own time in manufacturing and stuff, that when we used to have a team of forecasters, or the planners as we called them, production planners, who didn't have any experience in production, so didn't know what it takes, didn't know how long it takes to kind of change a production line over, didn't know what the complications were of moving from one particular product to the next particular product, who were maybe being guided by factories who make stuff to say, we don't want to make this product because we can make this other one more efficiently, so aren't necessarily being guided by sales forecasts. They're being guided by production demands, And so there's all sorts of things that cross over and mess up when you, especially when you get to big scale manufacturing, when you're in control of the whole thing. It's one thing where if you take, let's say Atomic Mass Games, because we're talking about them, when they ask like a foreign manufacturer, somebody from a different factory or from a different country, to make the product they want, they'll have a sales forecast, and then they just tell production to make what they need. And basically the company that makes it are like, you just tell us what we make and we'll make it, kind of thing. When you get a big company that controls everything, all of the manufacturing, all of the kind of the materials coming in, and the warehousing for the materials, and the warehousing for the finished products, and the raw materials coming in for boxes and all these kind of things, when you get a big company that controls everything, there are so many things in that kind of like sort of web of everything that slots together that conflict against each other, and it becomes really messy. I can completely understand why these kind of things happen, but unfortunately, like, people like us then go, I just want my toy soldiers. Clyde says, the top don't understand how they make money, but they know they make money. Yeah. Short-term gains. Sometimes, mate, it's not about short-term gains. That's the thing. Sometimes it's about a long-term game, but there's a bit of pain to go through in order to get to the end goal, and people don't see that either. Vijay says, when I got back into the hobby, I went straight to my old passion of 40k, but I have to say it took less than 2 years back in before I decided, between the cost, the rules turnover, and the community toxicity, that current 40k is not for me. You know what? I'm not even sure that it's the 40k community that gives it a bad name. I don't know if there's just this periphery of people who consider themselves 40k hobbyists, if you like, but don't really buy the models, don't really play the game, but just feed into that negativity around it. Like the people who, and this is no disrespect to kind of anybody in particular, but the people that complain it's too expensive, the people that complain they don't like the models, the people that complain they don't like the game. Like, I'm not sure if the people who play the game are the problem, as opposed to the people who kind of are on the periphery of that community, if you like. Like the more I see it, the more I think there are thousands and thousands of people who just love 40k and don't really get involved in that kind of stuff. But there are a lot of people who love to hate on it, and that's where the noise comes from. Just saying, the men in suits are there to make money. Creative folks are often more inclined to do the interesting thing, but not necessarily in a financially sound way. It's rare, that imbalance. Yeah, I completely understand, mate. John saying, yeah, when the shipping crisis hit last year and Kickstarter games had to charge more for shipping, the hatred they got in groups and Facebook groups was unreal, and people shouting about companies. Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it's like, I get that. This is one of the issues I have with Kickstarter, that I'm not a big fan of Kickstarter, if I'm honest, is because the project is so far away down the line, there are too many things can happen to the price of things. Like, for example, when it comes to like energy, people are like, they're making a product now that's not going to be produced for like 12 or 18 months. Anything could happen with the cost of energy, and like, there's a lot of energy in like sort of manufacturing when it comes to like injection molding and all that kind of stuff. It's just like, I get it's not the company's fault that things change and things cost more money, be it shipping or the cost of manufacture or whatever it is. It's not necessarily the company's fault, but by the same stretch, it's not the people sort of back in the game's fault either. The problem is the fact that we're pricing something now with our fingers crossed that in 12 months, 18 months time, that cost will still stay the same, and we all know things don't stay the same. It's why I'd prefer now to see companies doing pre-orders, where you basically pay your money and then they ship them out. The way Blackside Studios have done it, it hasn't been done through Kickstarter. It's a fixed price, and as long as they get enough money to make it kind of financially viable kind of thing, then they go ahead and they make the production. But it might be financially viable if 10 people back it kind of thing. It's not one of these that needs millions. It's one of the things I'm a little bit nervous about. Why Mantic are going down the Kickstarter route for this Dungeon Saga Origins. It sounds like they're trying to say, you know, we've got everything lined up, everything's ready to go. Well, as soon as it's finished, we'll just press the button and we'll make all this stuff. And yeah, it's like, well, if that's the case, it sounds like you're already ahead of the game. What you're doing is you're basically taking pre-orders like 5 months in advance or 6 months in advance. That's what it sounds like. So yeah, I'm not a fan of Kickstarter stuff, if I'm perfectly honest. The longer I've been in and around board games and miniatures games, the more I've started to dislike the Kickstarter model. Yeah, VG saying obviously it's not just 40k, but the gatekeeping, etc. in that particular game is off the charts. No, I get that, mate, but I'm like I say, I'm not even sure it's people who play. I think that's one of the issues. The people that I find who play 40k, like, generally, like, they're just normal people like the rest of us who just love their game in the same way I love my games. Like, I'm yet to really meet somebody that really loves 40k, sort of like buys all the models, plays the game kind of thing, who is that anti negativity GW type stuff. Gaming poses. Jess says, I only get Kickstarters that will be here within 6 months and made here. It's less of a gamble. Yeah. VG saying, I like what Black Site are doing, but their stuff's just too pricey for me. Yeah, it's pricey for me, mate, living in the UK. It's the shipping that kills it, really. I'm all for supporting kind of like smaller creators and stuff like that, and being able to back like those kind of projects, especially people who are trying to do something a little bit differently. But yeah, when you're going to pay as much again for shipping, it just doesn't feel right, does it? Clyde saying, is there enough available product I want right now that I've not jumped on a Kickstarter in a long time? Yeah, that's the other side of it. It's like, I appreciate you might save a little bit of money, you might get more for your money in the long run if you back something on Kickstarter, but for me personally, there's so much other stuff that I want to play and I want to do now, that in 6, 12, 18 months time when that thing comes out, if it's still something I'm really interested in, there's always Kickstarter versions kicking about, or I'll just pick up the retail version, because the chances are I'll never get to play those 5 expansions that came in the Kickstarter version anyway. So Super Pumpkin Man says, I play 40k, but I'm not a hardcore fanboy. I just like playing bug monsters. I think the vast majority of people are like that, mate. It's just that you get a few vocal minorities, don't you? Waffles Enjoy says, Blackside feels like one of the few American outfits doing minis. To me, it feels like the UK has piles and piles of mini companies. We do have a lot, mate, and I think a lot of it's sprung up around Games Workshop. People either grew up playing Games Workshop stuff and then went on and created stuff, or they were working for Games Workshop and then left and wanted to create their own stuff. I think it's been a real kind of like a feeding ground into the industry, which is why there's so much of it like around Nottingham, really. There's so many creatives in that industry, all based in and around Nottingham. VG says, as much as I enjoy browsing Kickstarter, I would like to see more stuff go straight to retail than the Kickstarter model. Kickstarter seems so heavily reliant on FOMO. Yeah, I wouldn't disagree. I mean, even this thing with Star Wars Shatterpoint, I'm happy to pre-order it for a number of reasons. One is I can cancel it if I change my mind anytime between now and the day it ships. If I change my mind, I just cancel my pre-order and I don't miss out. I'm pre-ordering it because it's something I want. I can kind of forget about it and it'll be a nice little kind of gift when it comes in 3 months' time. The other side of it is it's not like the price is not going to change. I've pre-ordered it. That's what I'll pay. That's it. I just don't feel the need to like kind of. I feel these days is that Kickstarter isn't used for. It's not even used to like fund the manufacturer anymore. It's used as a way to create this kind of FOMO marketing to try and create hype for it and drag people in, and that's what I feel a bit like. I'm not really sure. There is still some stuff out there that needs to go to Kickstarter because the company isn't big enough to be able to fund the ambition of the project, and I get that. There are still some like companies, like for example the Battle Systems stuff that's going to Kickstarter in the next couple of weeks. Like Battle Systems is a tiny company. There are like 3 people working Battle Systems. Like it's not a big company, and Colin does like so much on his own really that I can completely understand why they need that financial security of doing it through Kickstarter. But yeah, not every company's like that. Yeah, Camo saying so much time investment in Kickstarter waiting the cost, it just isn't just the money. Yeah, you're right, mate. Super Pokemon saying, but as I said before, I've met the kind of players that give GW a bad name. And yeah, and VG saying they tend to be the ones that gravitate towards gatekeeping and negativity in my experience. John says I've kickstarted 47 projects but only 14 games. Most are indie graphic novels and game books. Yeah, I've only ever kickstarted like tabletop stuff, and it was, I don't think I've kickstarted. I've kickstarted some like 3D like files, like 3D STL files, and generally because as soon as the Kickstarter ends, they just send them out to you. I see them as more of a pre-order, that kind of stuff. But yeah, generally I try and stay away from Kickstarter now. You just end up getting. I mean, I'm not saying you don't get a good deal and you don't get a lot of stuff for your money, but I think generally you spend more money than you intend to, and you get more stuff than you can ever really do anything with, which is not good for anybody really, is it? Haxon saying he spent far too much money on Kickstarter, still haven't painted or played the expansions for Fireteam Zero, which I've had for years. Yeah, that's kind of what I was alluding to really. Reggie saying love the battle system and stuff, and I backed the big fantasy terrain a while back, but I'm just not that excited for another fantasy skirmish dungeon crawl. I hope it goes well for them though. I think it will, mate. It's a good game. I enjoyed playing it. It ticks a lot of boxes for me. It has all of the things that I like in a game. Like all of those things are there. The fact that the cards are in front of you, the fact that the rules are not too difficult, the fact you can play solo, you can play co-op, you can kind of play those kind of missions. You can even, if you and a friend have got the game, you can play it together. You can go away and separately play your own missions and stuff like solo missions, and then carry over your experience and bring them back together and play those games again. I think it's just got a lot of good stuff about it. But not every game's for everybody kind of thing. I'd like to see them do well. Colin says he's waiting on his Resident Evil board game. Which one's that, mate? I've got Resident Evil 2. I did back that on Kickstarter. And to be fair, it was a pretty good experience with Steamforged. It came early, if I remember right, as well, which is never a bad thing. I backed Walking Dead on Kickstarter, and I think that came early as well at the time. I backed Super Fantasy Brawl. Wasn't the greatest of experiences on that one. Was very much delayed, and I waited ages for the case that I'd paid for, and the shipping was horrendous. I'm trying to think if I've backed anything else on Kickstarter, really, like big stuff. I think that was, Hellboy. I backed Hellboy as well. And Hellboy I was frustrated about because it took, I don't think it was particularly late, but by the time mine come, Element Games was selling Kickstarter versions of Hellboy for cheaper than I'd paid for the Kickstarter, which was frustrating. And they had them in stock and mine hadn't arrived yet. So yeah, that was another thing that kind of burned me a little bit. Yeah, he has 2 and 3 waiting on 1. Nice one. And John says, yeah, most of the Kickstarters, like graphic novels, are based here and shipped within a month. Yeah, that's not too bad when they turn around quick like that. Haxon saying Steamforged delivered Bard Song on time as well. Yeah, I think Steamforged get a bit of a bad name and a bit of a bad rap over the Dark Souls Kickstarter, which rumbled on for years and years and years. But in fairness to them, I think that exploded bigger than they ever expected. It was their second ever Kickstarter. Like their first Kickstarter, Guild Ball, I think did like a couple of 100,000 or something like that, which was massive for them. And then Dark Souls did something like about 15 million or something stupid like that. So yeah, I think it kind of caught them off guard. They weren't a big enough company to cope with it at the time, I think. So I've got some sympathy for them. Anyway, folks, we are getting on in time now a little bit. I think we're gonna call it a night. So if you haven't checked out my videos from the last couple of weeks, please do check them out. They don't seem to be doing particularly well views wise, but you know what? I'm kind of proud of them. There's a couple of interviews there. I've put some real effort into them. I've done a video tonight or this afternoon. I released it, which was my GODTEAR Fenrir Champion box. Again, like, it's not like in some videos would be an unboxing of basically this is what you get in the box, this is what the cards say. I decided to try and do something a little bit different and put a bit more effort into it and try and use it as a video where I can kind of explain what the rules mean, what you can do with them, give you some ideas about which champions that they would work well with. Try and do something a little bit more kind of effort. And you know what? I really enjoyed making the video. I loved being able to put the script together, filming it all, doing all the B-roll, doing the editing, learning some new After Effects bits and pieces. I've really enjoyed it, and I feel like I'm kind of getting my mojo back. They're not getting the views that I wish they were, but you know what? I'm happy about it. I'm not happy about it. I'm happy with the work I've been doing. I can sit back and say I did a good job of what I was trying to achieve. If other people like it, then that's so much the better. So yeah, if you haven't checked out the videos, please do check them out. Stick them on in the background when you're sitting painting and let me know what you think of them. And then what else can I say? What's coming up next? I'm actually playing a game of I've got a game of Marvel Crisis Protocol planned for Wednesday, I think it is. So I'm looking forward to playing that. I'm actually going to try and teach my brother-in-law to play, who's never played it before. So we're going to give that a try. I've got a game of Conquest planned for Friday night. So I'm looking forward to playing that. I've pre-ordered my Star Wars Shatterpoint stuff. I've pre-ordered some Conquest 2-player starter set. So I think they come back into stock next week or the week after. So I'm looking forward to getting my hands on that. So I've got plenty on the go, like, to come. It's just none of these cool stuff are in my hands yet, that's all. So yes, please do check out my stuff. I'll see you all next Monday. Take care and have a good week.